I'm not like, what are you doing? You shouldn't do that. That's bad. I'm like, wow, you're learning architecture. That's amazing. Like, look what you're learning how to do. You're creating whole entire worlds. I always had this dream house. Can we build it over the ocean? And I'm much more inclined to lean in to tech for young people. I'm live. Well, welcome, Internet. I'm sorry we started a little bit late. It's hard to pull this type of thing off. So we are here inside DocuSign's headquarters in San Francisco, and you were supposed to see the most amazing, beautiful Bay Bridge right behind us, but it is smoky. It is smoky unlike any time it's ever been. My family's lived here in San Francisco for 10 generations. So my ancestor, Lieutenant Moraga, founded the Presidio in 1776, founded the city of San Jose in 1777. I imagine some of my ancestors have seen smoke like this, but nobody I know has ever seen smoke like this ever. We had a bunch of people coming to this event from DocuSign, and this morning DocuSign sent an email out to their staff saying, don't come to work. Work from home. So obviously we're navigating that. We're so happy to have you join us. We actually are live streaming this at host locations all across the world. So 10 different cities in California, 10 more cities across America, and 15 cities around the world. Some of these folks are live streaming and having networking events very, very late into the night or very early into the morning because they're excited about what I am excited about, and that is the future of voice. And so thank all of you for joining me. Thank you, everybody online, for joining me. I will try to give you some attention. I am grateful for your attention. And if you stay with us, we will inspire you. You will be educated, entertained, and hopefully have a moment of escapism, which is the same for all of you in the room. So today is about the future of voice. Where is voice going? Why does it matter? All these products we have on our phone, over 1 billion people have access to voice as an operating system through the consumer products like Siri and Alexa and Assistant and Bixby and Cortana. There's all the enterprise solutions that IBM Watson is doing and many other enterprise companies. There's all these products, right? The Facebook portal is a product unlike any I've seen so far in the market, or Google is coming out with new products, even without video cameras, just voice and screen alone. And there's all this energy towards security and privacy. Blockchain comes in and says, hey, we can provide more transparency, and there's all these different elements that are constantly emerging in voice. Why does it matter? Well, why it matters is that our culture, humanity, we started off with voice. We didn't have the remote control of our life in our pocket. We didn't have, you ever think to yourself that we went from a hot box that was big and loud with 10 fingers, and somehow the business world got us to go to a little tiny screen with 2 thumbs. And now we're going to be away from devices and back to voice. And of course, the hope is that as soon as possible, we'll have things like augmented reality on our glasses, right? I imagine a future where a pair of glasses like this don't just help me see far and don't just go dark when I'm outside, but that this is the computer of my phone, and that this is the microphone and the speaker and the camera, and that all my glasses, I have augmented reality. So it's not just speaking, but I have that Jarvis-like experience. Right? I mean, we started watching Avengers and Iron Man 10 years ago, and you see Tony Stark, right? You see all the stuff in front of his face. He's talking to Jarvis. Jarvis makes his life way better. Like, I want a Jarvis. Right? We tried to find a virtual assistant. Like, no, that wasn't really like Jarvis. That was very different. That wasn't what I was hoping for. But that's what we long for. We long that technology can keep up with our thoughts. That maybe at the speed of speaking, maybe that's the first step toward us having an interaction with tech that allows us to automate our life, allows us to get things done, allows us to accomplish things that we just don't have time for. How often have you walked by something as beautiful as the Bay Bridge or walked on the Embarcadero and you thought about your mom or you thought about your niece? And if only you had the time and you weren't in a rush, if you could only speak to your glasses and say, while I walk, take a time lapse of this sunrise right now and send this time lapse to my mom, tell her I love her and that I'm thinking about her. While I walk, zoom in, there's a whale, zoom in on the whale. Take a slow-mo video of the whale coming up right now. You're talking to your glasses, this is what's happening, and you say, send that to my niece and tell her she's my little whale, or whatever it is that you do. That is the future. It's not that far away. And voice is not very sexy. Okay, it just isn't. Like, and especially because we don't have the greatest experience ever, when we use it on our phones and our tablets, it's kind of lacking in the experience, right? But when we start to get more interactive with hardware, when we start to get more interactive with visual things, it will be a very different thing, and it will feel like the tipping point happens in a moment. And that's what we want to talk about today. I'm really here to learn, right? I mean, I'm obviously passionate about voice. It's what I've poured myself into for some time now. And I've built a whole team around seeing the boundaries of what can we do in the voice space. What does voice as an operating system look like? What does voice, where not just the machine is artificial intelligence, machine learning, but what happens when all of the teams that are working on voice, they can deploy artificial intelligence? What happens when we start to actually interact with augmented reality? And how do we drive toward that? And how do we do it collaboratively? You know, some of you in this room might feel like you're sitting next to a competitor. Some of you that are watching might feel like this room is filled with your competitors. Maybe you're here to find something out to use for your company. I would propose to you, there are no competitors in the voice landscape right now. That's like having competitors with email marketing in 1994. It's like having competitors in AdWords in 2001, or competitors on Twitter or YouTube in 2007. It just simply is not a reality. It's a fabric of your imagination. You are collaborators. You are here to complement one another, not to compete against each other, because a rising tide will raise all ships. It is far too early to go to war with each other. This is the time to do informal and formal partnerships. This is the time to license each other's technology. This is the time to encourage one another, to consult for one another, to refer one another to your network, because as we grow the voice industry, it's not just good for your bottom line or your top line revenue, it's good for your grandchildren and their grandchildren to come. Because this is humanity's best chance to interact with technology unless we can figure out a way to wire tech with our brain. Then we have to ask ourselves, do people really want that? I don't know. But I certainly know that people like to talk. I'm one of the favorite talkers. I love to talk, right? That's one reason why I have a microphone. But I'm not here to talk to you the whole time. I promise I'm about ready to bring up somebody else that has a voice, and I'm here to learn. So let me lay out the day for all of you. And again, for those that are tuning online, let me just say thank you so much for your attention. And we are here to educate you, inspire you, give you, hopefully, a sense of escapism that you can forget all your worries just for a few hours as we enjoy this time. So let me set the agenda for you. For those that are in the room, you can go behind the cameras to grab coffee and drinks and use the restroom back there. And for those on the camera, I don't really even care what you're doing. You can be hanging out in your bathrobe for all I care. And the other thing is the agenda's been adjusted a bit. And partially that's because I want to be sensitive to the number of people that signed up online. I could have never fathomed that we'd have about 1,000 people sign up for the live stream. Like, I just was hoping I'd maybe get a couple people in each area. I didn't expect so many people to be like, I want to host a networking event. I want to live stream this. This is amazing. This is my world. This is my business. So because of that overwhelming response, we're not going to take the 2 10-minute breaks I originally anticipated. Rather, we're going to end a half hour early so that all of you have plenty of time to spend hour networking with each other, getting to know one another, hopefully talking about the things that stood out to you, and hopefully getting to interact with the speakers, right? Speakers are not coming in at 2:30 to speak at 2:40 and leaving at 3 o'clock. Speakers are sitting next to you. They're standing next to me. Like, they're here, they're available, they want to interact and get to know you. So let me lay out the agenda. My CEO at my company, Alex Farr, a friend, and to many, a hero, what he's already accomplished in tech and what he hopes to accomplish with our team. He will be our first keynote speaker. And he and I are going to sit down very informally and have a conversation. He does not know the questions I'm going to ask. I do not know the questions I'm going to ask. That's just how I roll. I don't have a script. I have no idea what I'm about to say. This is very exciting for me. It's like jumping out of an airplane. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think that's fun, right? It's organic. This is natural. I'm not here to put on a show to you or to perform for you. I'm here to keep you engaged and to create this environment. Next, I will have people come up for about an average of 4 minutes each to sit down with me as well. One difference with Alex is he will have more time so that he can really get into the pocket and feel the room and start to really declare what is on his heart as well as having time for question and answer. Now, if the crowd does not ask questions, I will find creative ways to encourage you to do so. I'm fairly effective with that. So, when that is done, we will have many short segments, and throughout that time, you're welcome to raise your hand or throw something at me or take your phone and turn your light on and blind me and get my attention so we can take questions throughout the time. As we get toward a close, my friend Eric from Microsoft, who works on some very exciting tech with the Cortana team and their Global Innovation Department, will be doing the final keynote with us. I'm very grateful that he was able to take the time to come because the enterprise developments that they're doing with his team is the future. It's the stuff that we're dreaming about 18 months out that's already happening right now. So that's the agenda for today. Before I bring Alex up, does anybody have any initial questions for me? Well, I'm so glad to have you here. For those that are online, we are live streaming to so many pages, I don't even know the number. The main page, for those that don't know, is facebook.com/WMVAI. WMVAI. And that is the Facebook page. On there, if you want to send that to people, you can. We will be fielding questions from that audience. If you don't really want to raise your hand, stand up, ask a question, stand out, no big deal. Go to facebook.com, Wumvi, turn your volume off your phone. By the way, silence your phones, please, out of respect for everybody's attention. Go on there, and you can post your question right inside the comments. My team will field those questions, and from time to time, they'll let me know what those questions are. All right. Well, we are going to get started then. I would like to bring up my friend and the CEO of our company, Alex Farr. Alex, please come and join me. Take a seat right here. So Alex, please introduce yourself. I told them a bit about what you do, who you are, but I'd love for you to have a moment just to tell them why you're excited about Voice and what your background has been and what you're into today.
Really nice to be here. This is the third time in my life that I've been part of something that I could not believe I had the unique blessing to be there as it was taking off. So I saw Tim Berners-Lee presentation in 1991 when there was this white page with some black text, which is kind of the way Craigslist still looks today. But I saw that back then. I said, what is this? And I went, this is going to disrupt newspapers. This is going to disrupt everything. We get to connect with each other. We get to put information and share. And I was just getting started in my life as a young man, in my career. And I tried to learn everything there was about the internet back then. And I kept moving forward. And in 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996, it just started going this way. And everybody got on board. And maybe some of you got on board. And you saw what was happening, and it was really exciting. And as this internet grew, it created a lot of opportunity, jobs, wealth for investors and everybody else involved. But what it really did was keep things really relevant and exciting. And then Apple decided to disrupt PCs and laptops and those type of devices and enabled true mobile computing. And this conversation, again, was starting to happen around 2005, 2006. And I got some rumors about it, and I started looking into it, and I said, I can't believe this is happening again. And obviously, 2008, when the App Store was live, ever since then, I remember, I believe in 2 weeks, over 10 million apps were downloaded. That's amazing. On the App Store. And I said, I cannot believe I'm going through this again. So 2014, I heard about voice devices being live. And I said, I cannot believe this is happening again. And what I noticed with voice that's really exciting is finally we get to have a conversation with our computers, with our devices, and soon with the thin air. I'm not going to sit here and pontificate about what that device is going to be. or what that entity is going to be. But the opportunity for all of you listening to this, if you're entrepreneurs, if you're engineers, if you're at a big company looking to spearhead a division within that company and champion that within your company, this is it, guys. This is the third time it's happening in my lifetime. And voice is the bridge. It's point A to point B. A is something you want. You want a service, you want a product, you want information. Could be as mundane as the telephone number for your favorite restaurant. Or it could be the tensile strength of steel because you're an architect and you're building a high-rise. And you need to understand exactly what type of steel you need from which manufacturer, from which country. You might have a list of 20 different things you're asking your computer. My CSO, Rob Leuenberger, and I were talking right before I got up here. And he gave me a really nice case study. He goes, right now, if you were planning your vacation, you'd have to get online and find out if that hotel has child beds or cribs, or if it's in a noisy part of town, or if it's in a safe part of town, or what it's next to. You might spend an hour and a half looking for that hotel. And while the websites are real pretty and informative, it takes you a long, long time. So you have experts, domain experts you go to. You read all these reviews. And again, an hour and a half later, you may or may not have the hotel of your choice. Imagine getting that information in 30 seconds. What if there was a software out there that could go from point A to point B and get you exactly what you needed? That software probably is going to be built by the big boys. It's not going to be built by a nimble startup.
Right.
But what we're doing, and what's really exciting, and what the people that I've shared our presentations with are really jumping up and down over, is we're enabling every single person who owns a website. It's about 1.8 billion websites out there. Several 100,000 belong to enterprise.
Right.
Several million belong to small businesses. Several billion, or a couple billion, are personal blogs and personal pages. But what's exciting for enterprise and small business and organizations, universities, large nonprofits or small, is they need to be on voice devices. Because if you're not on a voice device, your content, it doesn't exist.
Right.
So if it doesn't exist, you don't exist.
Right.
And that's a problem. Gartner came out and said roughly about 30% of all all activity is going to be voice activity by 2020 and climbing. I remember when the statistics came out about mobile, my background is I've developed many of the websites that many of you use every day. My team and I of engineers, that's what we did for over 20 years. And we were sent into startups, big companies. Some of the startups were kind enough to give us preferred stocks, and we were there to see them grow. We grew with them. We were honored to be there. And the big companies really gave us the framework and large engineering teams to pull off some of these audacious projects. And I've been an engineer my whole life. And I've been a programmer my whole life. And our company, we're an engineering company. That's what we do. And everybody at this company that we're recruiting right now and has come on board are just some of the best engineers I've seen. And I'm so excited to work with them because they see that, again, this thing is taking off. And voice is the bridge from point A to point B, and all your stuff, all your content has to be on voice devices.
Yeah.
It's not a choice.
Right.
Because just like mobile statistics started 5% people on mobile, 10%, now over 75% of web traffic is mobile traffic. We're not here to make predictions, but right off the bat, we have a very credible source telling us 30% in by 2020. I anticipate that to climb. I anticipate that to be disrupting all voice computing. Computing is going to be voice computing. Period. And if you're a startup or you're an investor or you're out there thinking about, well, what's in it for you? What's in it for me? How do I benefit from this? If you're an investor, pay attention to the decks that are going to be sent to you by these companies.
Yeah.
Because it's like the internet in 1993 or 1994. And it's like mobile space in 2007, 2008. There are unbelievable amounts of opportunity. And what we're interested in is to be the default software that helps anyone, anywhere, any language, get their technology, get their content, get their benefit statement from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So their customers and users can find it in a second. So that hotel you were looking for, you can find it in 2 seconds instead of an hour and a half. It has ramifications for every industry and every facet of your life. And it's truly an honor to have found this engineering team who are doing great work, and I looked at their code, I looked at what they're doing, and I said, this is who I want to be a part of. Yeah. So I put down my glass of wine and golf clubs, and I'm back. And I'm really excited to be back with you guys. Yeah.
We balance each other out. I'm hairy. You're bald. I don't really care how I look. You do. You operate. I definitely don't. I've been waiting for you, Alex. Very, very glad that you're in my life. And honored, all of us are, honored that you would choose us because you could choose any startup. So I really am. I'm very, very grateful. One thing that you said is if you're not engaged with voice, let's say as an operating system, if you're not porting your content over, figuring out how to create skills, figuring out how to interact with people through voice, you don't exist or you won't exist. And we talked about this before. It reminds me of the days of Yellow Pages. Before there was all the independent Yellow Page books. I helped AT&T early on in my career. I was at ad agencies, then I moved to AT&T, and I helped AT&T transition from physical Yellow Page books. If you guys are local, remember back in San Jose, had an A through, let's call it M, right? And it was like an O through Z or whatever it was like split into two. I think San Francisco was the same. I remember my grandfather was famous for being able to rip the big San Francisco book apart. He's a strong guy. And I went to Yellow Pages to help them transition from physical Yellow Page ads, which for those that don't know, like, you know where Lyft is at? The pink Lyft truck is on the freeway. Was built Bell Plumbing for like 40 years, for those that are local natives. Bell Plumbing spent millions of dollars in Yellow Page advertising every month. They had the 2 full-page ads in the very front of every single phone book you could possibly imagine. So I come into Yellow Pages, and my goal was to understand the industry and then to help them transition to digital. So I started selling the first websites. I started selling Yahoo AdWords. I think it was like Ask Jeeves was search engine. I mean, we were doing some stuff that's not really around anymore. And I remember the older guys that had been in the game, and gals that had been in the game for a long time with Yellow Pages. You know, you walk in and you tell an attorney, hey, the price is going up from $78,000 a year to $89,000 a year for you to keep the exact same ad. Like, people didn't like that necessarily, but they had a monopoly on advertising because that's where people's attention were. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter what you think, what you like, respectfully, graciously, it doesn't matter. What matters is where the market's attention is at. Today it's social media, it's mobile apps, it's modern websites and web apps. Soon it will be voice. Then it will be augmented reality. That's just where things are going. Back then it was Yellow Pages. I had no cell phones. I used to have a payphone. And I remember the guys would tell me back in the day what they would do is if somebody gave them attitude, they would rip the Yellow Page right out of the book. And they'd say, you don't exist. And they'd walk out the door. And these attorneys are running out. They're yelling at him. They're cussing. I'm going to sue you. But everything, always the same thing happened. All right, I'll pay them extra money. This is a monopoly. That already was manifested in our culture 25 years ago. When if you're not here, you don't exist. It is very reasonable to say that if you don't have a strategy that is executed well on all devices, not every phone, I mean all voice devices, all voice software platforms, if you are not executing well in the near future, people will just not know about you. You will just simply not have their attention anymore. And wherever you're putting your money, your energy, your time, your resources to get people's attention today, especially if it's old school, print, TV, banner ads, which really are not a bargain. That's a nice way of saying it. But even all the things that are a bargain today, Facebook ads, Instagram influencers, Instagram stories, telling narratives, making documentaries and gaining the world's attention, those things that work today, they will work less and less as we become less device focused. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, what's really interesting, what you're saying is, look what we're doing for Amazon, for Microsoft, for Google, for Samsung. These companies are really relying on these voice devices to be a big market driver and create a new market. That's what these companies do. They create markets and opportunities for the rest of us, and we're very grateful to them for that. We are trying to make it easier for every single human being to bring their content to their devices. What does that mean to those companies? We are adding value to these devices. We're making these devices more relevant. When the device is indispensable, people would rather spend money on their cell phone plan bill at the end of the month than sometimes their health care.
Right.
Well, the reason I share that is because voice devices are so easy to work with as long as the content is easy for them to find.
Right.
If your content is easy to find, that's what we're doing,
Yep.
then you can actually make and add value for the biggest companies in the world that have created this opportunity for us, for which we're very grateful. And then it creates all these opportunities for nimble startups to come in there and say, I want to solve that. I want to solve this. I want to add value here. This is my niche. And I respect that. And I love point solutions. And there's going to be plenty of point solutions. I've had a chance to sit down with a few startups in the last couple weeks. I haven't even told you, Ian. And I'm seeing some of the point solutions that are coming, and I'm going, this is unbelievable. And we love point solutions, and there's plenty of market for that.
Yeah.
But what we're really interested in is the whole thing.
Yeah.
We want the whole thing.
Yeah.
We want to be useful to everybody. And this software that we've built hopefully can do that. Can make the devices more relevant, can make your lives better and easier. You can find that hotel you want in 1 second or whatever business question you have in 2 seconds. And then the device companies are happy. The search companies are happy. The hardware manufacturers are happy. If we can add value to that supply chain, point A to point B, then we can all win together.
That's good. Yeah. We're going to transition to take some questions. So I'm going to start with one question from the audience, and then I'm just going to kind of tune in off and on to the Facebook feed. So I'm going to give the crowd 3 seconds to ask a question, or I'm going to have one of my friends ask a question. Yes. Please stand up, say your name, where you're from, let us know who you are so we can interact with you afterwards, and ask the question, please. Loud.
I'm Anthony. I'm from Pleasanton, and I'm just a retail investor.
Great. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. So you mentioned that you're making our lives easier with your software, but how often when you do create a company with the pipeline of developing your software, do you think of protecting consumers' data? Like example is you might be trading like our data for just your way of access for information, making our lives easier, but how often do you protect that?
It's a great question. 2 nights ago,
Sorry, could you reiterate his question?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
The question was, as we're building this software that brings things from point A to point B and makes everyone's lives easier, are we trading off for privacy and data management and the consumer's identity? And are we just throwing them at the wind and forgetting about them while we're on this big mission? It's really interesting you asked that, because 2 nights ago, I attended a talk in San Francisco. And for me, it was a really illuminating talk. I knew the gentleman that had come, and I'm going to be bringing him to our company to talk as well. There is a movement about humane technology and ethical technology. And this was spearheaded by many companies, but one company recently that really took serious note here and actually hired a chief evangelist just for this was Google. And they're coming out, and they have all of our data, or many people's data, so they have a tremendous amount of power. What we're doing is not in any way intrusive in your lives. So while that question I really honor and respect, What we're doing is actually outside of that. We are trying to bring public domain information that's readily available on your existing websites that you've chosen to share with the whole world about your business and about your industry. And if you're a nonprofit or you're a university or you're an organization that's not in business, you already have those things online.
Yeah.
All our software does is help people find it. So there is no personal privacy issues with us, similar to some of the examples that I gave. Those people have deep information about you and your personal lives. We're just trying to make your website be searchable by the 50 million voice devices that have already been sold and the billion that will be sold.
Yeah.
And those things you're already sharing with the world now.
That's good. For those that are watching online, please post your questions to the live video at facebook.com/WMVAI. I'm getting lots of hearts and cute little emojis, which I deeply appreciate. Thank you for your encouragement. I'm glad you're there. I want your questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Joe. I work for a venture capital firm called D&A Partners.
Welcome.
Thanks. We're a seed investment firm. We invest in the United States and in China. Today, I'd like to discuss the notion of operating systems, which is the discussion today, and how does the company Nuance fit into what the definition of operating system is for voice?
That's great.
I've known of Nuance for a long time, and they're good friends of mine. And I remember their first iteration of the software when it was a software. And I looked at this and I went, this is incredible. This is fantastic. And they were incredibly helpful. And obviously, as they've grown in their patents and their numerous achievements that they have had in the industry, they were pioneers. They are pioneers. For us, Voice OS, you're the OS. We're not trying to be a name that gets in front of you and the information you need. We're not a paywall. We are going to enterprise. We are going directly to businesses and organizations who are so hungry for what we have, which is, can you help me automatically get my stuff onto these voice devices without me spending millions of dollars again? I just did this for my app. I just did this 5 years ago. Now you want me to do it again? So the OS is the ease. We are not a paywall. We are not getting in your way. What Nuance has done so well was taken by Google and infinitely multiplied. All we're doing is helping individual business owners and website owners and content owners to be able to say, I can now benefit from this in an automatic way. I'm not just interested in point solutions. I'm not just interested in one-on-one engagements with enterprise. We value that. We have several in our pipeline right now as point of concept and proof of concept that we're doing. That is not the type of engagement I want. I don't want to sell a piece of software, you use it one time. This is the fabric. This is the highway we're trying to build from New York to San Francisco. We're trying to build this highway for everybody to drive their own cars. We get out of your way.
That's good. I would welcome you to give input on your question if you'd like. So if you wanted to say something about your question, please stand up and go ahead and do that. Obviously, brevity is very important. Thank you.
Yes, in my question I stated, for today's dialogue, the operating system of Nuance. And I'm not technical, but majority of the technical people have shared with me that the majority of the 5 voice technology companies that are on top of the Nuance operating system. So again, for brevity, today, majority of them. Today, the definition of operating system today and the discussion of Nuance, not necessarily for your company.
You have to understand where this industry is right now. There's an article that just recently came out, and we all looked at it last night, if you remember, Ian. it said there are XYZ amount of websites in this world, and that number was just a tad under 2 billion. And the other follow-up conversation was none of them are on a voice operating system. Right. These are huge statements for a journalist to make. Enterprise does have some voice strategy. They want to do voice chats and voice bots within buying experiences. So to your question, there are some point solutions that are benefiting from a relationship with that entity. But most people in this room, ask yourself, if you wanted to get questions answered, enterprise isn't there. You still have to spend a tremendous amount of time researching and being your own person, your own research analyst. You have to go find all this stuff. The voice OS for us is taking your content and making it useful, not just building upon somebody else's framework, which is what they're doing. Yeah. For us, it's how do we make your content more searchable? The schema that we're building is going to be so of use to Google and all these other companies, because we get to actually talk to them directly. You, through our software, get to talk directly, and it's not an enterprise relationship. A mom and pop could do this just like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Automatically. Totally different than what they're doing.
That's great. Yes, sir. Please stand up, state your name, remind us where you're from.
Sure. Roger Kibbe.
And we're going to bring you a microphone, actually, so the internet can hear you.
Hi, Roger Kibbe from Walnut Creek, California, and I do independent consulting around voice. And I'm wondering what you do with the, I'll call it the content problem. So let's say I'm a retailer, and I have this beautifully crafted 2 to 3 paragraph description of the product. You know, if I just take that description and put it on and use it for voice, it's going to drone on and on and on. And so there's this real content problem where what's been for the written word can be long. Voice needs to be short and
that's good.
And to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fabric of our company. So in fact, not too long ago, we had this discussion internally, and one of the gentlemen that works with us, Ryan, he said to me, he goes, what we're doing is essentially doing the Twitter model. We're enabling businesses in a few characters or less to be able to communicate with their customers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this droning on and on and on and on. I built websites. I remember in the 90s, people would send me 20 pages to build, and I'd be sitting there going, sir, no one's going to read this.
Right.
And he's like, do you want to cash my check?
Right.
And I said,
right.
I will put 20 pages on your website.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and eventually it became 600,
right.
1,000. Yeah. You know, and certainly a company like Samsung needs to put all their owner's manuals and technical data. I get that, and that's there.
Yeah.
But what we're doing as a society is our attention span is getting less and less and less and less and less and less.
Yeah.
It's not going to magically go more. So what we're doing is our schema and software enables exactly what you said. It creates a framework, and I can't go too deeply into it, right? Give us a little bit of secret sauce.
Right.
But what we enable you to do as a business or as an organization is to be able to Twitter this. Mm-hmm. Just the information that's relevant.
Yeah.
For some businesses, it's going to be a little bit longer than 140 characters, right? We don't put a number on it, but I'm using that as an analogy for Twitter that everybody can understand.
Yeah.
But we extract the best part of your website automatically. We know exactly what to take. Our artificial intelligence is that smart. I cannot believe it. I wish I had this tool 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I could have done it really quickly and multiplied and scaled and had a much bigger business than I did back then.
Yeah.
But the time wasn't right.
Yeah.
Now it is.
I'll add something to that. You know, in 1997, I got my first job at a ad agency. Basically created one of the first content management systems. So it was Dreamweaver was the big heavy hitter, and we were going after them. At Gray Zone, we had 60 employees. And the first achievement I made when I had a chance to go engage with clients was to sell a website. So I sold a website to a semiconductor company for $316,000. I was 17 years old. And I remember that moment, I'm like, this is definitely what I should do to make a living. This is great. People can give us that much money to build a website. This is amazing. Today, Wix has 100 million websites. We never could have fathomed that in a 21-year time span, we'd go from charging, we being the industry experts, the specialists, the strategists, the salespeople, the developers, the dreamers, the visionaries trying to push forth the future. We never could have fathomed that we'd go from selling a website for several $100,000 to a better version of that being free and working on every device. We never could have fathomed that. Well, my proposal to all of you, and again, thank you for those that are tuned in online. We're grateful for your attention, and we hope that you're enjoying this time with us here. We never could have imagined that in 21 years we'd have that happen. My proposal to you is that it will be in a matter of seasons, not decades, that we will see things radically shift. Now, not because voice is new. We all know voice was around back in 1997. Something very similar to what exists today. The difference is the machine learning that's available to consumers, that's a big difference. But this stuff is accelerating at a rapid pace, and a lot of what we're talking about and dreaming about may seem far off, but it's very, very close to a tipping point. Let me ask all of you a question as we're getting closer to wrapping up and transitioning to my friend Garrett, who is the co-founder of Limelight Health. He's going to come up and share some cool stuff with us about voice, but first he's going to sing us a song and serenade us, which will be wonderful. But let me ask all of you a question, and maybe we can just see by a raise of hands. First of all, who has an arm? Raise your hand. All right, so that's a good start, So I got about half the room to raise their hand. So now I know kind of who's hesitant. What are you most excited about? If it's the consumer application for voice, your personal experience, then raise your hand. If it's the business application, leave your hand down. Raise your hand if you're most excited about your experience, your kids, your grandkids, your parents, the consumer experience with voice. Raise your hand. Okay, so let's assume some of you are shy, less than half the room still. That's very interesting. So for those that are developers online, this crowd right here, they're interested in business applications. That's very important for us to take notice of. I'd like to take another question from the crowd. We're about out of time for questions, so please be assertive and stand up, and we'll bring you a microphone. Yes, sir, please stand up, bring you a microphone, tell us who you are, where you're from.
Hi there, my name is Kevin. I'm from San Diego, California, and I'm a UI UX designer. My question is about voice design. It's a brand new field, basically,
Yep.
And a lot of people are entering it. And from my understanding, one of the biggest points of entering the field is people aren't convinced that there's going to be a, like, how are we describing it earlier? There was a, there's the personality behind voice is off-putting to people because there are privacy concerns, there are, you know, like an ominous God feature to it where you don't want to give it all your questions and give it all, you know, have them give you your answers. I guess my question really is, like, what's the future of voice design, and what's the future of people warming up to the idea of communicating to a robot in your guys' perspective? Does that make sense?
It does.
We're already communicating with robots. I'm a UI guy too, so that's how I got my start. Yeah. And I still do. I'm involved with every aspect of UI because it's just my love, and I love doing it. It's fun for me. So it's a great question. We already are interacting with robots, so to speak. These adjectives, these nouns, these words that we throw out, right? A robot. There's a little bit of a pejorative intent when we throw out these words, like it's a bad thing. And if it makes my life better, if it makes my family's life better, if it makes your life better, and it makes your family's life better, then maybe it's not such a bad thing. Now, I'm not one of those people that is pro this or I'm against that. I'm not a polarizing figure. I'm a person who finds the middle ground. Like, what's the benefit here for us? And I focus on that. And then I understand what doesn't work for me, and I just reject that. I don't want that. I don't go there. So in terms of a robot, that, like you say, let's look at it this way. Voice UI is really interesting and sexy right now. Really interesting. So for your career, where you are, my goodness, it's unbelievable. You're the front lines. You get to create the schema. Imagine that.
It's really good to hear.
Yeah, so you are a visionary. So if you're any coders out there that are, and I know many are, programmers and developers, I cannot pump you up more. There's nothing for me to say. Look at the common sense. This is the beginning of this. You get to create the schema. What you're doing is the fabric of what we're doing in the entire internet. So 2001 was the first time there was anything like a responsive website, and Audi.com was the first people to do it. 2001. 8.5, 9 years later, it started to be more ubiquitous. It got taken to the next level.
That's good.
What happened in 2001 was nothing like what happened in 2010. And now responsive web design, as you know, is just what you do.
Standard, yeah.
So if I were to throw out a number based on my experience, it's just one man's experience, is this. We're right around 2007, 2008 for responsive. In terms of, right? So you have about a year or two to figure this out before somebody else does. So get excited and do it. And win.
I like all of the UI UX designers to stand up. So along with you, is there anybody else in the room that is a designer, UI UX, graphic designer? Anybody else? Stand up. I want to call you out because I want you to understand something. There's not a leader right now. There's not a Johnny Ives. Do you get that? Nobody has set the tone or been the forerunner in this. A lot of people have tried. They are trying. There's teams. There's brilliant people. But anybody can emerge as the thought leader, as the forerunner, as the person that sets the tone for how billions of people interact. So for those that are watching that are designers, I challenge you and I encourage you to take advantage of this moment. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I just want to say that before we transition to music. You guys can take a seat. Alex, thank you. Man. Any final words?
I'm just honored to be with your team. And
we're honored to have you.
Yeah, and all the people that are coming aboard one by one, I'm just pretty impressed with these resumes. I'm very grateful to be a part of this company.
Yeah, we are too. Okay, I'm going to call Garrett up. Thank you for coming.
Rising up, back on the street, did my time, took my chances, went the distance, now I'm back on my feet, just a man and his will to survive. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh. So many times it happens too fast. You trade your passion for glory. Just to keep them alive. It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. And the last known survivor stalks his prey in the nights, and he's watching us all with the eye of the tiger. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Face to face, out in the heat.
Get up off the ground. 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 Get up off the ground.
So much, Garrett. Why don't you come take a seat with me? Yeah, I'll grab the mic for you. Yeah, we should take it out of the way. Here you go. Thank you for singing for us. You joined me for the future of Shasta, which was all about our shared passion for Shasta County and the city of Redding. That's where we had met, was in Redding at a startup weekend where I worked with about almost a dozen people, many of whom are here today, and was able to work with them to launch what is now the company Wumvi, which Alex is now our CEO, which is wonderful for me. So we got to meet, and you are the co-founder of Limelight Health. And one of the things we talked about when we first met a year ago, we talked about many things. Kids, we both have boys, so that was fun. And we also talked about voice, because your company was already going after voice early on. So why don't you tell us a bit about voice, your perspective? I think you want to show us a little tech demo, and the floor is yours. You got my full attention.
Great. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here. So I'm in the exciting insurance space, group insurance, insurtech. So I think they're longing for a stream in the desert of technology to help them. So when we talk about voice, for me, it's very much still an aspirational. We're talking about just getting out of paper to at least technology getting in the cloud.
Yep.
So we've got steps for the insurance industry, which is we're a B2B SaaS platform to automate sales and underwriting for group insurance carriers, medical, dental, vision, life, disability. So I'm excited with where I believe voice can play a part in that. Yeah. Underwriters, right? They sit in numbers to figure out how to price business, and technology is a way to free people from a lot of the manual processes. So voice, imagine a world where underwriters and actuaries and sales reps and distribution partners could speak to their platform to get valuable data to make good decisions. It's a whole new world, so I get super kind of excited to talk about it. I've got a prototype, an Alexa skill that Alan, our CTO, good co-founder, dear brother of mine, put together. So it's got some real data hooked up, and we're excited. So
good.
Yeah.
You want to show it to us?
I'd love to if you're okay with that.
Yeah, we're absolutely okay with that.
So it's a prototype, all right? So it's real data. It's a sampling of real data. We have a platform, again, where we're running quotes for large insurance carriers and brokers across the U.S. right now. So it's a sampling of real data, which is really exciting. So Alexa, open QuotePad Analytics.
Welcome to QuotePad Analytics. You can select any of the following QuotePad environments. 1. Core. 2. All environments. Which one would you like to hear?
2.
Analytics. Would you like to hear older analytics?
Yes, please.
Analytics 1. QuotePad Consolidated Environment Analytics. In the last 24 hours, 625 renewals were processed with an average group size of 27 and an average annual premium of $68,599. This year there have been a total of 42,851 groups quoted this year between renewals and new business. The total annual premium quoted is $8,725,753,956. There has been a total of $82,582,008 sold premium this year. You have reached the end of the analytics. You can choose any other environment or restart the analytics.
Oh, we're good, Alexa. Appreciate that.
And is that analytics on your company?
Yeah, it's a sampling of our platform.
Okay, so I think a lot of people are wondering, are you guys raising money?
We're actually...
I'm just playing. You're talking billions of dollars.
We're closing a C round, actually,
Yeah,
the next few weeks. So we're oversubscribed, but if you'd like to join, feel welcome to talk to me after.
Good, good, good. Let's talk a bit about voice. We both have children. We both talk a lot about heritage and legacy. That's a big thing that we've really bonded on. The next people that are coming up is your son, that's 15, and his friend, Griffin, that's also 15, who have been with us kind of as interns for the last year, helping us with market research, actually telling us what people want, because we're not necessarily as native to voice as they are. Let's talk a bit about legacy. What are you hoping to see voice do for your children, their children? Let's kind of stay in that range the next couple decades.
Well, I'm excited to, for my son, I've got a 17-year-old too, my daughter's 12, so exposing them to this conversation I think is really important, to collaborate together with them and to enter into their world, meet them where they're at. So when we think long term, I think it's a wide open landscape. I've yet to fully wrap my head around where we might be in 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
But I'm confident in my son and my children and their friends to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we'll support them and hand off the torch.
Yeah.
So,
how do you think parenting will be different in 15 years when your kids start having children, based on the way people will likely deal with technology, interact through voice? Wow,
that's a big question. I don't know. I honestly, I'm transitioning to a new phase where my kids are all pretty much self-sufficient. So, I'd ask you to open up the dialogue, and I'd probably bounce off you my thoughts.
Well, I think parenting is going to be different in that we're going to have a much quicker way to engage with each other, and we're going to have a lot more transparency. Both privacy and security will rise, but also diminish. There won't be secrets in the same way that there is today. There'll be a lot more knowing and a lot more light, a lot less darkness, not just because of voice alone, but because of where all things in tech are going. So I do think it's going to impact our kids' parenting. I think they'll be able to communicate more easily, not just with tech, but with people. Yeah. And I think we'll have a lot more knowledge to parent well. So let's go back to business. A lot of what you do is strategy and sales for Limelight Health, going after the right partners, the right clients. So talk to me about how you see voice changing things quickly. Like right now, having analytics, you're in your car, you say it, it reads it all to you, you don't have to read anything. And how about in the next season or two or year? Like, talk to me a bit about business application.
Yeah. So again, we're B2B attempting to, in the group insurance world, right? The problem without technology is you can't be present with employers and make good decisions, or with employees. So the value of voice, it's a workflow with different users involved in this process. So to leverage voice to say, hey, how many renewals coming up, which groups are at risk, and you've got voice telling you and you're on the fly, that is allowing you to focus on what you need to in the group space. So I think it's going to help the workflow and make it a much more enjoyable, where we don't have half of the people leaving the insurance industry. It needs to be revitalized, I think, and reimagined.
It's good.
So
it's good.
And we're excited. We're telling that vision because we think it's coming.
Great. Here's your market research moment. You have a question for the crowd.
How do you guys think voice could be leveraged in the group insurance? I mean, a lot of you probably have insurance. So what would be a good experience for you from your perspective for voice to be leveraged in the ecosystem, the world of group health insurance or dental, vision, life?
This is your chance to affect products that Limelight Health and their other peers can create. Please, in the back. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going through open enrollment now, and isn't that fun? Comparing all different kinds of plans and what they offer and the costs. It's really overwhelming. So I don't know how you would get there, but that is what I would love to see, some way that's easier.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I saw another hand right here. Did you want to share something?
Sure.
let's say you're already enrolled in the plan, and you want to find a doctor who takes your insurance. But not only find a doctor who takes your insurance, but also based on reviews, their ethics, the quality of work, and you want a specific thing done, and that's something could narrow down for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it's in the consumer. Like that's where it's helping that consumer experience. Where we're really focused too, just like to call out, is the recommendation from to an employer, right? Because you're downstream where you guys are enrolling, but before that decision's made, where we're focused and thinking is on the employer decision. So an employer can say, what's the best decision for a dental plan for a tech company in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Boom. And we tell you what plan that everyone's on. Like that's how we'll leverage it, but this is amazing stuff because you guys are totally right. The recommendation is huge.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for singing. Can you introduce your son and Griffin? And then they'll come up, and I need an extra microphone for my friends that are coming up right now. We're going to skip the one more question. There'll be lots of time for questions. I want to stay on schedule. Please excuse me for that. But I can't wait to have you ask another question. Sorry, but schedule for me is very important because once I lose it, it can get bad. So please introduce Gabe and Griffin.
So this is my middle son, Gabriel Justice Michael Viggers. He's 15, and his close friend Griffin. And I've done a number of startups with Gabe, Justice Bow's bow tie company, and he's had the honor to hang out with you and learn more about technology and voice. So
it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
All right, guys, come on up. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so this is your chance to affect the voice industry. You are the only people under 20 that will be interviewed today, and I anticipate that these next 3 to 5 minutes will go down in history as long as you guys show up. Are you ready to show up?
Yes.
Because people are ready to listen. Okay, so tell us how you use voice right now. Each of you fire off 15 to 45 seconds. How do you use voice right now today?
Okay, so when I have something to write at school or something, I voice type. I know we're not allowed to do that, but I do that a lot. Like I speak into the Google Docs, and it does whatever I want to say. Comma, adds a comma, everything, autocorrects, everything's a beautiful thing to use.
It's awesome.
Saves a lot of time. I do that a lot.
That's great. Mm-hmm. How else do you use it? We talked about studying for school, mathematics, research. Talk a bit about that.
I have an Alexa. I have one of those, and you just ask it a question. Bam, answer for homework, done.
It's awesome.
Next question. Ask Alexa, bam, next one.
That's beautiful.
Moving on.
All right, Griffin, talk to us about how you use voice.
I use it in most of the same ways as Gabe. I set my alarm every morning using my Alexa. I use it to remind me to do my homework, my chores, and things like that.
Does Alexa ever randomly tell you what an amazingly manly voice you have?
No.
We talked about ordering products or flash briefings on brands. So why don't you guys talk to us a bit about, like, what's your experience with flash briefings? Why do you sign up, and why do you get rid of them when they don't give you value?
I think the closest thing I have to a flash briefing would probably be the Snapchat, and you can subscribe to their little things, and that's how I get a lot of mine. It's because it's very simple. You just click, click, tap through, and I think you could do that through voice as well.
Awesome.
I use a flash briefing in the morning to get the weather and like news stories that come through and daily facts like that.
That's great. We met about a year ago at the Startup Weekend. I came to do kind of an inspirational talk. Then I pitched the idea for what is today Wumvi. The two of you, along with another dozen or so people, that many of them are still with us now, joined us. You guys have helped us with market research, and it's been a joy to have you involved because so much that you've taught us. And let me say that right now to the live audience all around the world and to everybody sitting here. There's so much you can learn from the younger generation. I'm not talking about just your niece and your nephew or your kids that may not be as connected. Find young people, guys and gals, that you can honor and respect, to humble yourself, to learn from them. Because they will make you and your product and your services and your customers' experiences way better because they actually know how to use the stuff, because they talk to Google Docs and everything is done automatically and you don't. So they actually know how this stuff works and what is needed. What product or products would you like this room and the folks online to be working on and creating? What do you wish existed right now?
I would say I would want something to, like, say if I wanted to tweet something, but I didn't want to take the time out of my day to go through Twitter and type it. So I could just ask, like, hey, Alexa, tweet this, and it would search it up, put it on my Twitter.
That's great. Does anybody know of a skill or a Google Assistant or anything like that that does that right now? If you do, tell us. Yes?
Yeah, you can do an IFTD button with Google Assistant or Siri Shortcut can do that. You can just tweet. You can even speak. Your voice gets translated into dictation, and then you can automatically, tweet. And in fact, you can post across multiple social channels at one time.
It's great. So for those that could not hear your voice, let me just reiterate. What you can do is create a Siri shortcut, or Google Assistant has their own shortcut thing. It's applet. And then there's the if this then that setup. Right. So there are ways to hack it right now. The question is Twitter going to create that? Regardless, does somebody have the ability just to hack together a system where it's very simple and you have it in your thing, you say, hey Siri, do this. So that's one thing. How about you? Anything that you'd like to have exist that you're waiting for somebody to create?
I like what he was saying, but then maybe something, if I set reminders on my phone, but if you could verbally set, I know you can just, like, hey Siri, set a reminder, but a lot of the times I get mixed up between AM and PM, and then it'll remind me at 2 a.m. to do my homework. I don't want to do my homework at 2 a.m. I'm sleeping. Like, because that just doesn't go through my brain when I do that kind of stuff. Like,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Does anybody have a question? You got to stand up right now and ask. Okay, stand up right now. Ask the question quickly because we are going to transition to the next person. Although I could talk with you guys for hours. Go ahead. Say it real loud.
How's it going? Another UI question, I guess. How do you guys feel about talking to Alexa at Google Home? Is it like kind of at your level of like complexion, or is it like? Because I've heard from people that Alexa and Google Home sound like too far off, too different from their vernacular. So how does that relate to you guys and your friends?
Let me reiterate it. So that how do you feel talking to voice operating system devices, whether it's Alexa or Assistant? How does it feel for you right now? Go ahead.
Honestly, it's pretty comfortable because, like, cool. they get what I'm saying, and so if I say, like, play a certain song, it will play that song that I need. If I need to set an alarm, a reminder, put something on my calendar, it will get that done for me. But a lot of kids, they don't like to use it because they just don't want to take, well, that's lazy, but they don't want to take the time out of their day to say, oh, hey, Alexa, please do this or that or that. But when we've been working on with an Alexa, it's been a lot more comfortable.
That's great. You want to answer that question before we wrap up?
I have to say, yeah, it's pretty comfortable. I don't think the vernacular is that different. I understand it well. It says whatever it says back when it understands whatever I do. I don't think, like, if it would be better if it was like a real human voice, but other than that, it's nice.
Great. I know that more have questions, but I have to transition to the next person. We'll have lots of time for questions. I would encourage those in this room to do a couple of things. One, I encourage you to grab Gabe and or Griffin and to engage with them because you can learn more from them than most anybody else in this room and more than most young people because they've been with us for a year, right? So they're not just random kids that use the tool. They're part of our team. They understand what we're doing, where we're driving, and they have a totally different worldview and framework by which we're going toward. You can learn a lot. Second, I would encourage you to, like, engage with them in their world. Like, let them do an Instagram story with you. Let them do a Snapchat story with you. Let them engage with you in the way that they engage with the world and come and see what's it like for them, not just with voice devices, but with communication, because that's where we're going. You're setting the tone, and I am very, very grateful that we get to run together. Thanks for joining me, and I'd like to call up Whitney as our next guest. Hello, Whitney.
Hi, howdy.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for driving down from Reading.
Yes, sir.
You were one of the original Wonder Women.
That's correct.
Right? So when we started, that's right. Let's hear for all the Wonder Women in the room, those that know it and those that don't. When we started a year ago and we all met each other, there were the Wonder Women, the Mighty Men, and the young guys, they were the Valiant Voices. I like to brand people. So, it seems to work. So,
Our men are very mighty.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're pretty wonderful.
You are.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about what drew you, because your background is art, creativity, dance. You run a dance company in Reading. And what drew you to even go to a startup weekend? What drew you, of all things, to jump into a team that was going to run after, voice a year ago when it still was earlier than today? Like, give us a little background.
Okay. That's fun. Startup weekend. I think that it's just super, super important to be a learner for the rest of our lives. I think everyone in here is a good example of that. And being a small business owner, I just needed to learn. So I was going to be around much bigger people than me. And I think that's important to continually upgrade the size of your friends and always be willing to be small. Yeah. And so, that was my effort in that weekend. And then joining you guys and your team, mostly your charismatic personality. And however, I could see that you could see things I couldn't see. And being a part of kind of the artist, maybe I'm surrounded by a lot of the hippie types, and I might be one of them myself, deep down. Woo! We tend to go anti-technology, and I think that ship sails, and we miss a lot of really great innovation that's actually really beneficial for our art form and our careers and our futures. So,
that's good. For one thing that you and I talked about earlier today is, like, if Alexa could sing, if assistant could dance, like what would that look like? We even grabbed Siri and we're like, "Hey Siri, can you sing us a song?"
She's shy right now.
She's very shy. She didn't want to do it. We asked her to dance for us. She said, "Absolutely not. I'm not moving my feet." But does voice have a personality? Does voice have emotion? Can voice, talk to us about that as an artist?
Yeah, I was hoping Siri would sing for me, because then I would dance for you guys.
Oh,
but
that'd be so
too bad.
I know.
Oh, Alexa sings?
Okay. I do have Alexa. I'm almost willing to try it.
Oh my gosh. I will say, I think one thing that is available to us now, but it's going to get better and better, is just the ability, like as a choreographer, for example, the task of finishing, I'm in a creative flow, I'm in a creative zone, and I have to stop right now. I'm thinking about the formations, I'm thinking about everyone in the space, but I have to stop and go to the back of the room and turn off the song, and then come back to the front of the room and think about, so if I can just go, boom, hey, stop here, go back to 30 seconds. If I can just be in my flow, that kind of efficiency for me is really, really wonderful. That's something that would be really wonderful in voice if it's a little bit more automated and a little more accessible to artist types. I think the music thing and Alexa and everything, that's a wonderful feature, but I think efficiency in general is what I'm really attracted to. I'm a mover.
Talk to us a bit about efficiency and how you see that being implemented through voice.
Yeah, so I'm the kind of girl that actually doesn't even like to take a purse into places, because I love ergonomics and I love comfort and I love movement and I love being able to own my space and not be really bound by devices or belongings or anything. So voice is so exciting, and that's a growing thing. I think we're really learning about the importance of taking care of our bodies. So I think that getting unglued from little stress injuries and multiple habit overuse and all of that, I think that's really exciting for humanity, so we can move, because voice is right here, it's attached to our face. We can get our hands back, our hands, and whatever we do that's really mundane and actually really time consuming and not beneficial to a thriving human life. Computer, right? So many things are going on in people's bodies from sitting and doing computing, and we know that for years now. So
I just had somebody online tell me to sit up.
Sit up
So
straight.
it wasn't good for my back. So
yeah.
Next time I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. But that time, I'll go ahead and respond.
We can talk later.
Because
about posture.
why not? It's good advice. I like to take good advice but don't be encouraged, Jerome, whoever you are. That's the only advice I want from you. I don't want you to tell me with more things. Question, and then we'll transition. Yeah. You are several things. You are a small business owner. You are an artist. You are an athlete, amongst many things. What would you like to see the voice industry, those in this room, those watching online, what would you like to see them think about creating for you in one of those areas or holistically?
Okay, selfishly speaking, I would love to see, okay, this might sound really niche, but I would love to be able to talk, it's going to be multiple platforms in science and technology, but for performance, for athletes and dancers, I would love to be able to interact with something that can see I can ask what's going on in my body today, like where am I carrying tension and what, like all of that kind of stuff, but that'll be voice and like many other forms of technology. So that would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then probably what I was describing with you about music and the ability for those platforms to be smart enough to know what I'm saying, right? And we'll get there. So
that's good.
It's exciting.
Thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
me.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to ask Ted Haas to come up. Ted, amongst many things, is the brand evangelist for Transform Our World. He's been with Dr. Ed Silvoso at Transform Our World for over 20 years. And you are a wonderful friend to me. You've been an incredible encouragement to our team. And a lot of what we started to create was around your needs and your organization's needs. Thank you for joining me. Tell us a little background about yourself and your family, and then I'll go into a couple questions.
Well, I'm 6'9", and I play basketball, for those of you who are curious. I'm a husband, and for 22 years, I have 4 kids. We live in South San Jose, and I work with this organization, Transform Our World. I'm a social entrepreneur, and we're a social entrepreneurial nonprofit and based in San Jose, working all over the globe, helping people set together on a common goal and work together to transform our world.
It's great. The leader of Transform Our World, Dr. Ed Silvoso, has 6 international best-selling books,
yes,
many of which are in multiple languages. You and Ed came to me early on, before I ever even went into the startup weekend, and said, hey, we have needs, and one of our needs is our new book is exploding all over the world. We need to get this book onto Amazon Alexa. We need to have this book in multiple languages.
Well, we didn't say that. We said we needed influence, and you told us where we needed to get it.
I told you how to get it. Well, you know, sometimes my memory, I put my words in your mouth. So that's all right. That's all right. It's not on purpose. It just is the way I remember things. The point is, we went after this for you to get Ed's content on these devices, and it's been a fun ride. Tell us a bit about what you've seen with that and what you'd like to see happen in the future for Dr. Silvoso and others like him that just want the world's attention so they can influence them.
Well, Dr. Silvoso and so many like him have a very powerful message and very, very helpful, very impactful, and we see this impact over and over on people. We want to just get it and make it available to those who are interested. And I mean, particularly what the theme that you and Alex talked about, if we don't get onto this voice platform, you're not going to exist.
Yeah.
And we don't want to not exist.
Right, yeah. Tell me a bit about where you see voice as an operating system and where it's going. And then we'll wrap up because time is of the essence.
What's
I want to get on
exciting
track.
to me is like what was just touched on.
Yeah.
Voice as an operating system is like it's full circle. It's coming back to something that's very, very natural. And I see it setting us free from the tyranny of screens, which are very, very unnatural and very unhealthy. I mean, we were just talking earlier about the top 3 addictions that are very toxic in Japan, and one of the top 3 is addiction to online gaming, and it's all connected to a screen. And that's, you know, I see voice actually providing a platform to actually make games and interaction that the young people are going to create that are going to be very, very healthy and not addicting.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm excited about.
That's good.
The other thing I'm really excited about is, you know, like the ability to connect people and really connect them in a meaningful way. Like we're thinking about the older people that are spending so much money on healthcare, and they're isolated and they're alone. And a natural way where your grandmother, great-grandmother, because we're all going to be living longer, could connect intuitively, you know, with this digital assistant, to be connected not just with all the services that are available that they don't have access to because they don't know how to use it, but also connected with, you know, isolation is such a huge problem. And I see this as being able to solve that and connect them with purpose, with meaning. I mean, I get excited to think of all the value that these people have, that the elderly people have. And if we could connect them and get that wisdom out there, imagine if you could say, Alexa, tell me what my grandmother thinks about such and such. I mean, the wisdom that's available there is just incredible. And if that could be accessible, that really excites me.
Yeah. How about as content creators? Because it's not just Dr. Savoso's 6 books, it's annual conferences, it's monthly gatherings, it's lots of content in lots of languages, it's audio, it's video. Like, your organization is a content machine.
Yes.
And you are peers with lots of other content machines. How do you see voice affecting content machines like Transform Our World?
Well, again, it's access. It's how do we access that? I mean, another thing that I get really, really excited about is being able to take all this and then cut it down into Twitter-sized pieces in a way that's much more organic than Twitter, because Twitter taught us a new language, and it's powerful, but it's also artificial in a way, and it's cut down our attention span. With voice, we can actually have the best of both worlds, where people will be able to grab what they want, but it'll be very seamless to enter into a deep content, a deep dialogue. That's one of the things that excites me about voice. Not only is this little Twitter stuff, but voice and podcasts are the only long-form delivery of content that's still left out there, unless you include, you know, Marvel movies, which are 2.5 hours. But you know, it's two different things. The only long form, and I see a huge value to both of those, and I see the long form depth, in-depth conversation is something that our society has lost. And I see voice being able to recover that, and that gets me really, really excited that a young person could hear a powerful statement that Ed drops out. We call it an Edism, and he'll say something funny, you know, and it's just, it's powerful. But then they could then interact in a natural way and go in depth and really get to know him and get something imparted that's, you know, you're not just going to get through the bite. That excites me.
I would like to invite you to introduce Annalise, because you're her friend, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about the amazing Annalise before she comes up.
Well, Annalise is amazing. Come on up. She's one of my dear friends. I met her through you, Ian, at at Runway down the street. And her energy, her joy, her excitement gets me happy about the future, because when I see people younger than me that are passionate and excited with a purpose and with a cause, it really gets me excited. So this is Annalise. She's amazing.
Wow. Thank you, Ted. Hello.
Annalise is full of life, and you are one of my favorite people to talk about the future with. Tell everybody where you're from, your age, so there's a bit of context for what our conversation about the future of voice.
Okay. Right now, I live and work in Mendocino, California. It's a little slice of paradise in NorCal. I'm from Texas, and I'm 24, and met Ian a year ago.
And what's your background in education, and what are you excited about, like career-wise with your time? So there's a bit more context as we start to dive into the future.
Let's see, I studied data analytics and also urban policy and issues. And what was the other question?
What you enjoy doing now? Like, obviously, data stuff, and tell us a bit about that.
Well, now I enjoy working with you and putting on these events, and specifically putting them on so that we can like share hope about the future with people, because there's a lot of fear around it, and I think that's unnecessary, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I see a lot of nodding heads. I imagine all those that are watching online are nodding, so I'm glad you're with us. You know, one thing that you and I talk about is the utopic possibilities and the dystopic fear-mongering and lies. For instance, those that have watched Terminator and Blade Runner, or more recently, Black Mirror, Electric Dreams, Altered Carbon, these are dystopic views, entertainment, to get your heart to beat, to tie into your anxiety, to tap into your fear. That is what that's for. And then there's the Jetsons and Star Trek, which is a much closer version of what's actually been happening in the world. And for all of humanity, we have never created something so far that has destroyed us. We have created things that have helped us. I want to talk with you about this utopic possibility. Let's start 10 to 100 years out. What do you see happening over the next several generations because of things like voice?
Okay. So yes, technology is going to develop rapidly. We're going to be able to interact with our environment in a totally new way. So if I want a pool, I'm going to be like, hey, I want a pool right here. And you know what's going to happen? The floor is going to open, and it's going to fill with water. And then I'm going to say, I want jets in there. And then boom, it's just going to happen. Like, it's going to be right there within a matter of minutes. And I'm going to jump in and have an amazing time. Woo! That's just one example. Or I'll build a skyscraper. It'll be real life Minecraft. But I mean, I believe that the technology we'll have in the future is going to be very mindful of the environment that we have, like to the point where we don't impact it negatively, but we actually enhance it, make it more beautiful, like work with nature even. I think we're capable of that.
That's great. Tell us more ideas, because I mean, when we talk, I love to just listen and just have you just like tell all these crazy ideas of what could be. And so tell us more. I mean, yes, I do. I buy in. In the future, at some point, decades from now, simple things like I want this to happen will be baked into our ecosystem, or I want to create this thing will be much different than creating things today. So tell us some more ideas. I think people want to be inspired. Inspire them.
Oh, okay. I'm looking out this window behind me, and I'm imagining bungee jumping right now, just because I want to. And I'm gonna be like, hey, I want to shoot this thing over there so that I can, like, I don't know, just fly. And then you can take me up, because we're gonna have flying robots that also come to our aid and just help us do whatever we want. I'm talking so fast.
Let it out.
Our
Talk
environment is our playground. And we will use our voice, we're going to use our motions, we're going to use our dance. Like, the environment around us will read even our own biology, our own, like, hormone balance, and see what are we in the mood for. Like, it's going to be completely 100% interactive, because we trust our voice and the environment responds to our voice. Not just that, but like other aspects, like I said, hormones and stuff. But
and in the future, what type of products would you like to see folks in the voice industry create that will help manifest some of these types of extravagant visions that you have?
Well, we're going to need to develop new technology around matter. Who knows what this floor is made of? I don't. Who knows what this ceiling is made of? Who knows what that camera is made of, this table? Like, what kind of plastic is it? If we're going to interact with our environment, then we need to know what it's made of. How do we impact its chemical composition? Like, we're going to need that technology pretty soon if we're going to build our kingdoms around us the way we want them.
Yeah. I think the argument to support what you're saying is that voice is the interaction with tech that will allow billions of people to be more effective in development. And let me say this, there is no lack of abundance.
Yeah.
We do not have to tear other people's buildings down to have the tallest building. We need to build the tallest building. We do not need to, be the only person with some secret sauce. We want everyone to have their own secret sauces. It is not a pie in the world with a small little slice that you're trying to get as much pie as you possibly can. There is unlimited pie. Yeah. You can have as much pie as you want. Okay? Yeah. There's no limit to the abundance that is present today and is to come. Things like voice are the technologies, the infrastructure, the foundation that allow dreamers like you to create the world and manifest these really fun and exciting things. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay.
I love you, man.
I'll take the microphone. Possibly we're showing a video. I did have a bunch of videos of tech demos. I was a little concerned about doing tech demos live because there's a lot of expectation. I have people watching online. Thank you so much for joining us. So just let me know if we're going live. I think we're going to show a tech demo from Dabble Labs. Steve is the leader of Dabble Labs. They are far too busy. They have too many projects, so they are thriving in the agency space as well as the information space. Their YouTube channel, again, Dabble Labs, that YouTube channel has about 250,000 views every single month just on voice. They basically create a lot of DIY videos to teach people how to do things around Alexa skills and whatnot. Are we ready? Oh, okay, this is BotMock. Is that what we're going with first? That's fine. BotMock's another amazing technology. So I got to connect with the BotMock folks. They are based in Canada, really wanted to be here, could not make it, so I asked them to make a video that showed their tech. So what we're going to do for just a moment is take a break from the conversations, and we're going to come back. And I promise not every single person that's talking is on my team. It's been like that. We lost a couple of the folks due to the smoke, and so I popped some of my team members in, and I'm so glad I did because all of you have something very important to share. But what we're going to do after these videos is we're going to start having conversations with some of the authorities that are in the room that are doing great things with voice. I'm going to stand up and assume that we are going to press play in a moment and watch. Here we go.
Specific platform before you jump into development. So we allow you to not only plan out what your customer journey will look like, we also help you test it out in browser without any devices needed. So we support multitude of different platforms.
Is a conversational design prototyping tool that allows you to figure out your customer journey for a specific platform before you jump into development. So we allow you to not only plan out what your customer journey will look like, we also help you test it out in browser without any devices needed. So we support multitude of different platforms like Facebook Messenger, Alexa, Google Assistant, SMS, Business Chat, WhatsApp, and a whole lot more coming soon. To give you a quick example, I've already created an Alexa demo that I'm going to jump into and show you how it works. So here's a sample demo of a project. As you can see, it's a very visual representation of the conversation flow. We like to think of these prototypes as happy paths and sad paths, but also for your designers to understand how conversation flow would go, how customer journey would go from point A to B. And we are adding support for multimodal experiences soon, but here I'm going to show you just the audio part of it. So once we have laid out the conversation flow, each of the text nodes can support SSML tags as well, so you can actually customize exactly how that sound would look like or sound like, at least on Alexa devices. So once you have this, which is a drag and drop editor, right, you can then create previews. And I've already created one preview for our example, but I'll create another one just to show you how easy it is. So let's call this demo. And then the system will ask you to sort of go through the path that you want to show to somebody. So imagine you're showing a demo to your customer, you want to show them the exact path that you want to discuss. And we can also do interactive demos, but let's do this demo first now. And then just simply run it in the browser.
Alexa, ask Jeopardy to play a new game.
Welcome to Jeopardy! Please pick one of the categories: food, sports, or science.
So as you can see, you can actually do these demos very quickly, test out the experience in browser. That's the fun part. But the other part that we find very important and critical to the journey is the ability to get feedback from your stakeholders. So you can invite your team members to come and join you as reviewers or editors right in the project. And that enables you to give them very fine-tuned control to not only just see this as a PDF document or an attachment to an emails, but also be able to just come into the document itself and give feedback right where they need. There's a whole lot more that I want to show you. So simply go to botmock.com/demo and sign up for a demo slot. It's free, and our team will love to show you the power that our solution can bring for your company. Thank you.
Very consistent response from people. Little concerned about doing live tech demo, open to doing a video tech demo where it's controlled environment, tells me a lot about where we're at as an industry. A lot. Now, I think BotMock was one of the ones that was like, we want to come from Canada and do the tech demo. So I'm in no way throwing them under the bus. They've done some wonderful tech. They're very, very successful with a lot of customers. But I do find it interesting that a lot of the folks that wanted to be involved with this conversation preferred to create videos because it's all very new. And isn't it interesting that we still want to have visuals, right? Was that experience watching the video different than just Garrett pulling up Alexa? It's a different experience. We still want that visual. We need to keep that in mind as we start driving the conversation toward voice as an operating system. I'd like to welcome my friend Shahan to come up. He is a principal at Reflective Venture Partners, and he is one of our strategic partners. And Shahan, thank you for joining me. A lot of your world is around blockchain, and we've had a lot of conversations around the marriage of blockchain and voice as an operating system. So let me just say something on my mind about that and then kind of hand the baton off to you. Here's my personal opinion. We should be concerned about machine learning because anything can happen with it. Machine learning is going to automate the world. I believe blockchain in the future, not cryptocurrency today, blockchain as a third-party ledger system that institutes trust, transparency, accountability, that future blockchain, I believe that's a foundation that protects the world from people and tech and holds tech accountable, okay? And then that's the foundation. Machine learning's on top. I believe voice as an operating system sits on top of machine learning, also accountable to blockchain in the near future, and that's how human beings interact with tech. It's not voice OS, it's not blockchain, it's not machine learning. It's these three things working seamlessly together in the future, hopefully with great augmented reality, that really will transform not just the experience, but the trustworthiness. Shahan, thank you for joining me. Why don't you tell us a bit about your background and Reflective Ventures? Give us a little idea about where you're at, what you do.
Awesome. Thanks you all for joining me. Ian, thank you for inviting me to this event. I love going to every one of Ian's events. It's always a great group of people that we get to meet. And please, all of you who are interested in speaking with me, come speak to me after. So a little bit about my background. I've been in technology for the last 10 years. And where I started my career was around digital transformation. And that's kind of like a buzzword. But essentially, I would go to companies like Warner Brothers or Cisco or Facebook and take these really archaic systems, these legacy systems, and find a way to automate those processes or streamline those processes in any type of way. After that, I spent my career in mobile company here, one of the unicorn companies coming out of Silicon Valley, a company called Branch Metrics, which was in mobile, and they help with mobile deep linking and the mobile user experience. But all along that time, one of the things that was very top of mind for me, I really like future technology. And one of my favorite futurists / physicists is Michio Kaku. And Michio Kaku always paints this vision of the future that seems like it's from Star Trek, seems like it's Iron Man type stuff, but it's stuff that's now becoming a reality. And one of the things that he talked about was blockchain. And I really got into blockchain about 2 years ago as an investor. And then I found myself every day when I came home, I would spend the time from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. reading white papers and really researching every type of blockchain company that I could. And then at Runway, actually where Ian and I met, my wife works there. She helps run events and community at Runway, Twitter's incubator, is where I got a chance to meet Ian and a bunch of other really important people in the blockchain space. And so earlier this year, we launched a company called Reflective Ventures. And Reflective Ventures is a blockchain-specific venture fund. And up to now, we've invested in 23 different blockchain tools, companies, and dApps, one of them being OneVi. And what really drew me to Ian, number one, is he's a very charismatic figure. He can bring some of the greatest minds and greatest people to a location and get people to move somewhere. And when he had this vision for voice and how voice was going to be a new operating system, and how you could then use your attention and an influence in order to get more visibility around the different people that you want to reach. Somebody like a Gary Vee, or you see different comedians now using voice. All these different comedians like Joe Rogan, like Theo Vaughn, like Bobby Lee, they all have their own podcasts. They all have their own different ways outside of stand-up in order to use their voice for attention and influence. And so when I meet with Ian and John and the rest of the team at OneVi, I thought that their vision in terms of using voice as a way to reach new people, as a new operating system to reach a different group of people, and to make that process really easy was something that was very impactful for me. Because what I had done before is taking processes that were manual and very difficult for Warner Brothers, Cisco, Disney, all these different companies, and streamlining those processes. What they're doing with voice is taking away the difficulty and the complexity from getting your voice into these different operating systems and automating that process. So I thought that was really cool, and it's been really great working with you so far, Ian.
Yeah, it has been. Since you represent blockchain, I'd like to stay in that sphere for the next question. And of course, since we're running through so many, we're about done with our time. Help this community, and for those watching online, thank you for your attention. I hope you're enjoying this incredible group of people that are here to share with you at no cost. Unbelievable that we can stream to you at no cost. It just blows my mind that I can stream to 1,000 people that signed up through 100 different pages. It just is incredible, the access that we have to be able to communicate with people. For the next question, maybe the last question, is how can the voice industry engage with blockchain as a tool, as a technology today? And how do you envision the voice industry engaging with blockchain as it matures more and more?
So the way I see it is, anybody familiar with blockchain here? Raise their hands. Has anybody heard of Steemit? Okay. So I think that's one of the models, which is, I think the main impact that blockchain has is it removes the middleman. So you as individuals are now empowered to do what you need to do, and you're also reap the benefits of what you do, and that cut doesn't need to go to the YouTubes, the Facebooks of the world. And so I think what blockchain will enable people to do is it empowers them and able to push this different content out into the world and be compensated for what they're doing via what you're doing, via what Steemit's doing, for your attention and influence, right? So if people are watching your videos or listening to your podcasts more than others, you will be rewarded for that with likes or views or whatever it may be. And blockchain provides the infrastructure and the reward that you'll be able to use in order to utilize these different systems. Because otherwise, you'd be tied to these major enterprises, these major businesses who will have their own kind of use and direction for where you're going with your company.
Sean, thank you so much for being here. I would encourage those that are in the room that are interested in how voice and blockchain can interact now and in the future to grab Shahan and to connect with him. I always enjoy having you at events and having you participate with me. Awesome. I would like to invite Maura Sparks to come up. I love what you do for children in the voice space. I am very excited to have you share with us for a moment. So Maura, can you tell us a bit about your background? You and I connected, I think, because of the event. I know you found our website, you reached out, we talked a lot about this event, and we discussed what you do around children. So tell us a bit about your background and your passion for children and creating voice for them. Voice
Sure.
apps.
So I found myself in different...
A little bit closer. I think it's on, yeah.
I found myself in emerging technology. So I started off with sort of CD-ROM products. I was involved with a mobile game company for women, an early stage social network company, and then most recently into voice. And so what we're doing is creating a platform for kids that will be agnostic. The goal is to work with all the different interactive, voice devices, and we will have a platform that will be a closed platform because we feel like we want to keep it safe. We want to be able to have the content curated. And so there's a lot of parts that make up a platform. There's the content, which we want it to be geared all for kids, based on the age of the child. They'll get certain content for them. We'll have a knowledge base that was designed and created just for kids. So if a child asks the knowledge base, the Q&A, something, it comes back to something that they can understand.
Yeah,
it's not, over their head. It's geared toward their grade level. Also, there'll be a nice dashboard in the back for parents, much more than what's currently on the market.
Yeah.
We want to be able to analyze, I'm a parent, I have 2 sons. I want to be able to analyze, not only is my kids asking the device, I want to make sure they're not asking anything inappropriate, but I also want to make sure that, or to be able to analyze what is going on, how are they doing with a certain lesson, whether it's a language lesson, how often are they, how many minutes per week, do they have a natural aptitude with this language, just be able to get a little bit more analysis.
Yeah, it's great. I imagine you interact not just with children, but probably primarily with parents.
Correct.
So talk to us a bit about parents' passion, what they're driving toward, what they desire, and parents' concern, what they're afraid of,
Sure.
and what they're shy about or pulling away from. Tell us a bit about parents' perspective from what you've seen.
Okay, so I think it's, really important. Parents want to protect their child from, the most important thing is to have, they don't want explicit lyrics. They wanted to make sure it's, like I said, age appropriate. They don't want the child's profile to be, go up online and accessible to anybody. Right. So the protection of the child's data, their voice, anything about that surrounding the child has to be, highly protected. And that's an area where I was we're looking at blockchain as a way to, add that into the platform because here's an example. I may want certain things about my child. I don't want to necessarily know about, I might want people to know their age and an interest of theirs. So if my son was asking the device a lot about dinosaurs, for example, I may want to, as a parent on my back-end dashboard, be able to see what sort of events are going on around me about dinosaurs. Oh, look, there's at the museum or at the, there's an exhibit on dinosaurs. Yeah. I may be able to have delivered to me some sort of, here are some great books about dinosaurs we think your son may like. I'm okay getting that as a parent, but I don't want my child to get that. So being able to monitor all that.
Yeah, that's good. So as you project, let's say a decade out, maybe you'll have a grandchild by then. What experience would you?
Maybe not quite.
Maybe not quite. Maybe it's 20 years. It depends on your kids and how excited they are about being parents. Right?
No,
we never know.
Let them get through college.
Yeah, let them get through college. That's true. So when that experience happens from infancy, like from 0, what do you think the experience is like in a decade from 0 to, let's say, a child at 9? Right. Like, what is that experience like, and how do you break up the age categories and build tech for specific age categories? In your opinion,
right.
Like, what are you thinking about that?
So one thing that could be really cool and that we think a lot about is trying to make sort of a core part of our technology, sort of begin to understand and learn about the child. So if my child is 5 and has started using, a voice device and it's on our platform, as the child gets older and older, that sort of, knowledge base is growing and learning more about the child. So if my child is getting into middle school and high school, you can start to learn more about, what career might be well suited for my child. Yeah. So being able to have sort of a, it's almost like a ongoing time capsule of your child. And then as the child advances, they could be able to, access that on their smartphone some days, right? We're not going to be tied to, these, the Alexa and the Echo and things like that. But sort of having that data that will carry them through, ideally through life.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
I wish we had more time to
Thank
just
you.
talk forever, but I want to be sensitive to the other folks I'm bringing up. Thank you. It's been
Awesome.
a joy
Thank
to get
you.
to know you.
Thank you.
All
Same
right.
here.
All right. I'd like to invite Ryan Opfer up. Ryan Opfer and I met just over a year ago. And Ryan is the CEO and founder of Recorded Word. Recorded Word has had their audiobooks listened to billions of times. So I would pay attention if I were you, because I bet you don't know very many people or anybody that's created audiobooks that's been listened to billions of times. You've done this in 45 languages. He has a bench of talent that's able to transcribe, translate, and speak forth 45 languages manually, plus, of course, things like Google lets us do that automatically, not with a great quality, in over 100 languages. You and I connected about Womvi. We started dreaming together about what is beyond audiobooks. What does it look like to create voice as an operating system? And that's our initial connection, and it's been a really fun ride. I am so grateful for that. Tell us a bit about your background, and tell us a bit about your vision for voice as an operating system.
Well, thank you, Ian. Thank you all. So my background, Ian gave me a good introduction. You're obviously too kind. But we work primarily in multilingual audio services, and that means any language, obviously, and can produce content in audio to film. And of course, when we talk about voice being the leader in this industry and where it's going, we're just seeing a huge resurgence in orality and removing the barriers that currently exist. Ted talked a little bit about the screen that's in the way all the time. And so seeing this disruption happen to the publishing industry, it's already happened with audiobooks. There was a stigma around books on tape, but that's mostly been gone from at least my generation.
Yeah.
So watching that change unfold right now as people become increasingly wanting to get content through audio, especially in ways where we're busy. So multitasking, exercising, commuting, obviously, are some very large places where we're just seeing this disruption take place.
It's great.
Make it really easy to connect with audio.
Your background is actually as an engineer, a back-end developer, senior developer, and then you transition to an audio engineer and really focus on building this big audio company. Talk to the folks in the room and the folks that are watching online. By the way, we know you're there, and we're glad you're with us. Talk to us about the people that are in the audio space, not the voice space, but the audio space. What is the opportunity for people in the the audio space, to dive into voice? Because you made that decision in the last year with great sacrifice, right? It's hard to imagine the amount of revenue that you've left on the table with Recorded Word in order to chase down this voice as an operating system pursuit that we've been doing together. So you've made a massive risk. You're very courageous. I love that about you. Talk about your encouragement to others on being courageous as well and transitioning, maybe not fully, but at least slowly, from audio to voice.
Yeah, well, we're betting that voice and audio, as you ingest information, will run the future. It'll be the way that we connect with audio. Like I said, to be able to remove this barrier of typing on your fingers to communicate with everybody. So we're betting all in on that. We're like, this is the way people are going to be communicating. And that doesn't diminish the amount of screen time you would technically have or print. but it does greatly amplify the accessibility of audio. Especially, still the majority of the world is still illiterate. And untapping the huge potential of getting devices inexpensively. Even when you have a device without a screen, you can manufacture these things so cheap. And we're seeing Google and Amazon practically give away these devices to seed the market. So, anybody who's in the space, anybody who has content that needs to be distributed and made available, you're going to want to be able to be found through voice. We talked a little bit earlier about the tweet. How do you get found and how do you get that short burst of content that's an audiobook that's hours long, and how do you shrink that down? Can you use machine learning into really short snippets? Hey, I've got 30 minutes on my commute to work today. I want this book I want to read. I need to get the Blinkist version of it in 30 minutes. And you could use machine learning to create whatever length you want. It's no longer like a static, fixed content. Yeah. So just some of those ways that we can, connect with, engage with content is just going to change how we get information.
That's great. Beyond being the founder, and this is the last question, beyond being the founder and CEO of Recorded Word, you're also the co-founder and VP of production at OneBuy. What type of partners are you looking forward to working with? What type of informal, joint ventures or formal licensing agreements, or what type of engineers who do you want to come and work with us, and who do you want to go and work with? Talk a bit about that. Let's make that the last point, because I think some people might be interested in your perspective.
I'm excited about the disruption that's happening in the publishing space. So if you're into publishing and you're just getting into audiobooks, or maybe you got onto them, we've seen double-digit increases in the last 4 years in audiobooks, while we've seen ebooks just plateau. They're actually declining just a little bit. So strategic partnerships with people who want to take their content, audiobooks is just a great place to see that get expanded and played in audio devices. So that's another one. We talked about machine learning. So how can we take audio content, so developers that really want to get into the voice space, natural learning processing. I mean, this is just huge. And since we work in multilingual, that's where we want to go after. What can we do to see all these other languages, information get shared out, not just in English, but in the top 50 language, top 100 languages. So it's, Google's doing a lot with that, trying to make that happen. Baidu in China has had some huge breakthroughs in how you can get speech synthesis to sound pretty close to natural, especially over low-quality telephone lines. So I think those are the kind of people in strategic partnerships we'd be looking at, to see where the future goes with published audio.
It's an honor to be your partner. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay, so we're going to show a DocuSign video, and while we get that ready, if you'd like coffee, please raise your hand, and somebody will bring you a cup of coffee. And also, if you'd like some LaCroix water, raise your hand. We can bring you both as you watch this amazing video. We have spiked coffee. We do have Bailey's and Kahlua, because what is it, a networking event without alcohol? That would be strange. So if you want coffee, raise your right hand. We'll bring you some. If you want water, raise your left hand. We'll bring you some. Now is your time. Yes. Yes, I'm ready for him. Anybody wants to?
Amy, welcome to your new car. The first thing I'm going to do is have you sign in so we can get your lease insurance. Amy, welcome to your new car. The first thing I'm going to do is have you sign in so we can get your lease insurance. All right. And we're going to sign a contract that is the lease of your choice. All right. We're going to sign a contract that is the lease of your choice. And you are now able to choose which of the options you would like. So you have a low, medium, and high option in terms of mileage for your lease.
Okay, I'm going to take the mid-mileage lease.
All right. We're going to prepare a contract for you so you don't actually have to deal with any paper. You can sign this contract electronically with just a swipe of your finger. So go ahead and click Get Started, and go ahead and choose to sign. All right, we're going to enter your signature here. And you notice your signature shows up here. It's as simple as that. You've now signed your lease. And we're going to take this lease, recorded in DocuSign, associated with your account, as well as record out on the blockchain that this lease has been signed. Well, before you can drive, the next thing for you to do is go ahead and get insurance. Which one of these insurance policies would you like?
I think I'm going to take the biggest policy.
All right, let's DocuSign your insurance contract. We're now going to drop a contract. Again, you didn't have to go out and find an insurance agency. We brought it right to you within the car. You can see all of the information about your insurance contract here, and we have your signature on file. Go ahead and sign if you're okay with this. Great. So you now actually have a lease and you have insurance. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to pay with your Visa card. So what's really great about this car is your Visa card lives inside of the car. So you don't have to pull it out to be able to pay for the things that you'd pay for, like tolls and parking. So let's go ahead and add your Visa card to this car.
Okay.
All right, you see it there. The car now is able to pay for tolls, car maintenance, music service, and any of the other kinds of bills you might expect that you would encounter while you're driving along. And now your car is going to pay for the lease and the insurance and also be set up to pay for other things. So you've now paid for your lease and your insurance. Let's go ahead and take this car for a test drive.
Okay.
All right. So here you're going to see how your car checks to make sure that the lease is valid and that the insurance is valid. And as you drive, what's amazing is tolls are automatically paid for. And you can see that if you were to shop at a restaurant, your car would pay for that. You wouldn't have to whip out plastic to be able to pay for stuff. Visa is taking care of all that for you. And then ultimately, when you park, the car with its Visa card in it is able to pay for parking. In Dashboard, we're going to give you some reports. Here you can see a report of an overview of how you've been driving. You can see the things that you've paid for with your Visa card. Your lease reports, your DocuSign lease there, and how many months have gone by. And ultimately, your insurance contract. What's great here is, if you noticed, you drove under the miles of your insurance contract, and so we've just given you a 20% discount.
That is great.
All right. If you wanted to, we could also add services. We have a whole marketplace of services for you to choose from music to navigation, roadside assistance. With that, I'd like to congratulate you on your brand new car.
Thank you so much.
Share with me. And I encourage all of the wonderful people that are networking and grabbing coffee to come forward and sit down. Every once in a while, there's a talk that goes down in history, right? I think of the guy with the glasses did the TED Talk like 10 years ago. Now his name's slipping my mind. But he talked about the why. You know who I'm talking about? Okay. And, you know, Ray Kurzweil has had some amazing talks. You know, a lot of these people, they sit down and in a fireside chat format or on a stage, they start to tell you what the future is going to be like. That has been my experience with you several times. At a barbecue place, in my backyard, and on the phone, at an event. Many times, Eric, you and I have sat down and talked about the future. Doesn't really matter if it's the future of voice or if it's just the future in general of humanity, of tech. I love the way you think. I love the way you articulate your thoughts. And I don't have a lot of questions for you. I just have a platform for you. You have a room full of people, some sitting, some coffee, some networking. Everybody over there to my left, come on over. The reason is that this is captured. And this moment, I think, matters. For those online, congratulations. You're about to hear from Eric McCall. Eric, I give you the floor. Tell us about the future.
Well, I'm very optimistic about the future, not because of some Pollyanna imagination, but because I think the future is now, and it's happening for different people at different speeds based on what tech they connect with. And so when you think about voice as an OS, and I love this stack of blockchain, artificial intelligence, and then voice operating through that, the aggregation of disparate databases coming together in one opportunity to have a conversation with all the data that's out there. Yeah. That's just incredibly encouraging and empowering. Yeah. You know, death and life is in the power of the voice.
Good.
And sometimes it's just how you use your voice.
That's right. One of the things that hit me hard when we first met was you talked about the augmented life. And you said something as simple as, you looked at me and you said, Ian, your glasses augment your life. you already are an augmented human being. And then I started to think to myself, my car augments my life with transportation. My phone augments my life with communication. And I started to think through, like, there's so much of my life that already is augmented. It's not that foreign. Talk to us a bit about where people are at and how you see people's life being more and more augmented through tech like voice as an operating system.
Well, I can break it down into 3 phases. Think about passive tech. I'm the operator and I have a screwdriver. This screwdriver has no idea about my project, my goals, my dreams, my aspirations, my emotions. It's just a screwdriver. And early digital tech was the same way. I've got an open window in a word processor and it has no idea what I'm thinking or what I want to do. So it required me to learn it in order to produce anything of value. So passive tech had its place, but we got bored with it and wanted more. Yeah. And now we've created, and we're living in a time where we have generative tech. Generative tech is our partner, someone who's working with us, and I still have the project in mind. I still have the interest myself, but it's now creating options, opportunities. It's bringing tech to me that I didn't know. Yeah. It's solving problems that I didn't even know I had. And generative tech is cool in and of itself, but I'm still the operator. Right. The future of voice is that next level, the exponential tech, which is nothing but taking what I want to do and doing it better, faster, cleaner, quicker than I could ever do it myself. I don't want a digital assistant.
Right.
I want a digital ambassador because I want to show up better in the world than I'm showing up today. How many careers are over with one bad tweet, one bad interview on a radio station or on a television broadcast? All you have to do is slip up once. Well, just like in the old days of live TV, that you always wanted that 10-second delay to avoid the catastrophe. I want my digital ambassador to take the best of me and offer it to everyone in the world. Because when I do that, then I'm getting the best out of my opportunities. And I think that this will dramatically change the opportunities that all of us have. I want the best from you.
Yeah.
I want you to show up well in the world. Yeah. Wouldn't you love your ambassador to help with that?
It's good. Makes me think of the word compassion. We've talked a bit about like voice, not just doing preventative health care for the elderly, not just doing HIPAA compliant medical care for the elderly, but being a companion. The Jarvis for the 10,000 people every single day that turn 65 in America, that spend, if they're of means, tens of thousands of dollars to stay alive and have some very inconvenient things in their life, like asking their kids and grandkids to order adult diapers for them. And there's things that they don't want to interact with humans about. They want to interact with machines. And some wake up with dementia and Alzheimer's, not knowing where they're at, who they are, and they're afraid, and they become angry. And a thing like voice as an operating system can bring compassion. Talk to me a bit about how tech can be and is compassionate.
Well, there's 2 pieces to the puzzle. One is it's compassionate because just exactly what you talked about. There are many studies going on around the world that we think of localization in terms of currency and language, and that's not enough. You also need temporal localization, and we found through interacting with folks that are having mental challenges, people who are mentally divergent can't remember what they had for breakfast, but they remember 1937 very well and can tell you everything that was going on at that time. And they found that if you can create an oral environment where they're using the same language, the same phraseology, the same cadence and pace of language, that it opens them up to input. So while we think in terms of, Alexa, tell me a story, this is actually more. It's iterative. It's dialogue. Alexa, will you be my friend? Any article you read on the web about the senior dilemma always starts with there's financial decline, there's physical decline, and there's mental decline. But the #1 decline is disassociation from a multi-generational network that gives you a sense of place and a sense of connection. My granddaughter says to me, "Granddad, tell me a story of when you were a kid about my age." She's not asking for data. She's asking for values. And one of the things that the voice platform can provide is an opportunity to reintroduce values transmission in the context of answering questions. Because when I tell her a story, there is a component to it that is more than the data of the story. I'm actually helping her figure her way in the world.
Yeah, that's good. Any last thoughts for us on the future of voice as an operating system? And I just love to kind of give you the last moment to share whatever's on your heart.
Oh, this is easy. Every single business is going to be completely, not just disrupted, kind of a tired word, but is going to completely be shortened in their value chain. You talked about medical care. I'll give you one. Let's start with the malpractice suit and work our way backward. Most doctors have to surrender up to 20 years worth of their medical record because the opposing counsel is looking for aberrations, and they're doing deep data dives in that medical professional's record hoping to win a malpractice case. Well, what if you're the patient, I'm the doctor, and this is Alexa, and it's sitting here? Did you know that as a doctor, I've got 140 different elements that I have to cover in terms of all the HIPAA responsibilities, all the medical responsibilities, what Medicare and Medicaid and the insurance provider, and my own physicians group that puts a whole nother professional ethics code on top of me, and I got to do that within 15 minutes while maintaining eye contact and compassionate care for you. There's no way in the world I can do that. But Alexa can be listening for all 140 components, can completely document our interaction, physician and patient, and can completely build the case of credibility. So not only compassion, but digital integrity, digital character, digital performance can be reduced to the blockchain. And to make sure that it's true, you can tie my voice to our chain in such a way that I am the doctor and I approve our transaction, and that way it can't be altered from now till whenever the next malpractice. Imagine wringing all that cost out of medical delivery, and we haven't even gotten to medical delivery. But that's what's so exciting about this. There's so much that can be done right in the voice space.
Yes, there is. Eric, thank you for being here.
My
Thank you
privilege.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to ask Tanya to come up. And here's a microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you for flying out to be here with us.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Good. Tanya, amongst many things, is a successful art director, creative director, technologist, 2 master's degrees, one in innovation, one in technology. Spent most of your time at huge ad agencies like Ogilvy. Thank you for being here. I'd love to talk with you about voice as an operating system, specifically regarding branding and marketing.
Right. So thank you for having me. It's been such an amazing time just meeting Ian. I just have met him so briefly, and in one day you can just be like so overwhelmed with who he is and the brand that he brings with him. Like, he is a brand. So I'm really excited today, and I'm so glad that I'm in this chain, and I'm like this number in the chain of people, because everyone's like spoken so much about and educated everybody, and told the story of voice and where voice is going, and how I really have the adaptive mindset and the abundant mindset about voice. And I think that for brands it is a really exciting time, okay, because you have to design a brand with a brand logo and TV ads and all of those types of things. Now you got a brand, a voice. You can extend your brand via voice, and that is a whole new way to engage with the audience. As a consumer, even having an Alexa at home, I am just so excited to have a personal engagement, with the voice. And I think over time, because as accuracy gets better and better with AI and machine learning, you're going to have an amazing human-like experience with brands. And for a huge challenge for brands is personalization. personalization is getting on that one-on-one experience. Like brands are looking to have a connection with you, and everyone's journey is different. And how can they communicate with you? And that is where, voice comes into play, where you can have a really deep engagement, a meaningful engagement, and deliver content that is so relevant to your consumer. Like I shop at Nordstrom, for example. Like I have a one-on-one shopping experience, with a stylist. She texts me, and imagine with voice, like that is a deep engagement. I can actually connect with my brand and say, hey, I want this in my size. Like, this is fitting for me. I want to order my Domino's pizza or my Panera breakfast, via voice. It's all me. It's me and the brand. Like, it's just such an amazing experience now.
Voice is early. So branding with voice is infant, right? It's maybe still in the womb. But do you see anybody that's doing it very well? Is there a brand, are there brands that are really doing voice well from a narrative, a storytelling, a media perspective?
I haven't really seen a brand so far do that, and that is honestly, nothing is really coming to my mind besides an Alexa or a Google Assistant. You're so used to a Siri or a Google Assistant. I mean, it is time for brands to step up and, create those personas. I want to have, like, if your brand is like a fun, upbeat, with an audience that is young and expecting that kind of persona, then your brand needs to have that kind of voice. And that is where, it's innovation in the voice space. It's new in the voice space. It's where, you can leverage your product and, take things to the next level. And even for the designers sitting in the room, that's where, how can you give people that human-like experience? Where can you take it? That's the exciting part.
So let's say somebody's watching online or they're in their room and they look you up. Like, wow, she seems really intelligent. They look you up, they're like, wow, she's next level, been at this game a long time. They contact your company, BVK.
Right.
They say, hey, I saw Tanya online. Like, she's got the stuff I want to work with. We're going to transition $10 million of our branding, not sales, marketing budget, but our long-term branding budget to voice. We want to give her a project. Let's call it one of the top 100 brands. How would you approach branding with a significant budget? Like, what are some ideas? Because when you share your ideas, it may inspire a potential client, which would be great for you. More important for me is that it may give ideas here of how these folks can DIY and bootstrap what you might do with a large budget.
Right. So I'm Creative Technology Director at BVK, and we do have our clients asking for artificial intelligence and chatbots and things like that. A lot of the times AI is just associated with chatbots and some kind of like customer-related, problems, and the bot is trying to solve, which is great, for that particular use case. But in this case, imagine talking to let's say there's you have Pandora or you have Panera. Imagine if they got together and created mood food, like, food for your mood, based on your Spotify playlist. Imagine we deliver, breakfast or lunch or dinner for you, based on, what you ate today or, what you listened to. It's such an amazing, way to look at, how brands can be, creating new content, for their consumer.
That's great. Any final thoughts to inspire the folks here or online to brand well with voice?
Right.
Maybe you have a bootstrapping idea or a shortcut that they could try to implement to get started.
Right. I wanted to also, I'm really excited.
And
so
anything else you want to share,
yeah.
now's the time. Go for it.
You know what Shahan talked about earlier, and what Mumbai is also doing is steam it, and brands are engaging influencers and giving power to the people. Imagine content being you being rewarded for watching videos. I mean, every little view is now, it's tokenable, right?
That's right.
You know, an Ian token, or, you know, a Catherine token, or a Lindsay token. Like, you can now capitalize on that, and that is opening up such an amazing or remarkable time for brands and for influencers, because at the end of the day, that is what users are used to, okay? People want an experience with a brand. People are they are following influencers. They are watching YouTube videos online. This is what they're doing. You need to be there and you need to catch up. I mean, it's as simple as that. You need to be tapping into user behavior.
It's great. Thank you so much for being here and sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. I am going to have Colin come up from NASDAQ. I believe we're going to show a video as he walks up. So enjoy this video. No, we're not going to show a video, so let's skip it. Colin, come on up. Colin has become a friend, and I'm inspired by what you do for entrepreneurs locally and globally. Tell us a bit about the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, which, for those that don't know, here in San Francisco is on 1st and Howard, and is one of my favorite spaces in San Francisco. Tell us a bit about it and your background.
Thanks for having me, and hi, everyone. My name is Colin Mahan, Program Manager at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, where we provide resources for founders, every stage, every industry, all for free. We're right down the street, as Ian mentioned. We do a lot of workshops. We have a lot of online resources, so check us out. I'm happy to be here and talk to you, and you're doing a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about some of the type of speakers that you have that come not to serve teams of entrepreneurs, but the founders. Like, tell us a bit about like what you've done this week, this season. I mean, I love coming to your events because of the caliber of people that you have speak.
Yeah, totally. Well, over the past 3 years, we've seen 15,000 founders come through the doors, and we've run over 500 programs, hosting thought leaders like John Chambers, Kenneth Lin from Credit Karma. We actually had Tom Gonzer from DocuSign, so shout out to Boris for having us again. Yeah. And yeah, really everything from meditation to entrepreneurs to the art of the exit to user acquisition, you name it, we've probably done it. So a lot of interesting things to help support the founder, not just the startup, because no matter where you are in your journey, you need help, you need connections, you need obviously a network of people who are willing to support you and you can lean on.
That's great. You're a man of action. And I say that from experience. A lot of people talk. And maybe try or do not try to execute. You've done a great job with me of executing. I'm not in your program. I'm not part of your group. I mean, we've talked about me being involved one way or another, and in some ways I'm becoming more and more so. But a couple examples. I want to do this event at DocuSign. At NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. When we talked a bit about it, you're like, you know what? I think DocuSign might be a better spot for what you want to do. Why don't I introduce you to Boris? Thank you so much for creating the bridge so we could do this event here. Another example, you called me randomly or shoot me a message. Hey, I have an investor at a major investor group that's very interested in your space, and you made a connection. We had an incredible conversation that may be very fruitful. I want to thank you personally and publicly for what you've done to support me as a founder in San Francisco. And I want everyone here to know, and those watching online, especially the 600 plus people that signed up for the live stream in San Francisco, that it's not just NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center that's here to support you. It is Colin and his team that is here to support you. If you're in the voice space or any space, tell me a bit about what motivates you as an entrepreneurial leader and supporter, because I think that's a fascinating part of your story.
I think Silicon Valley really has this pay-it-forward mentality, right? 99% of the people that I've talked to who are successful said they didn't get there on their own. The one that disagreed with me, who will not be named, was having a bad day, must have. But really, what we do at the center is help support by providing free resources. I've always been passionate about entrepreneurship. I was an entrepreneur at a young age, everything from starting a lawn mowing business to a catering company when I was in high school. And I think building businesses and solving problems that people are willing to actually put their wallets up and put some money behind is really, really an important thing. And spurring economic development and giving opportunity for people that don't necessarily fit in that corporate role, and you want to be your own boss, and you see something and you know something more about, than the larger corporations of the world, right? That move kind of slowly just because the processes that it takes for them to do things. So, we're all on it. And I think entrepreneurs have the key to controlling their own destiny, which is something really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we wrap up, give a couple on-ramps for people here. One, obviously events, which they may or may not know how to find. Two, your program for people to come in and be mentored and find solutions to accomplish problems, and others. What can they do? Who can they reach out to? How can they engage with your organization?
Yeah, totally. I think we do host in-person events in San Francisco here done on First and Howard. So if you want to go on our website, sign up for our newsletter, that's pretty easy. Again, everything's free. We're not selling anything. We do a variety of workshops, thought leadership forums, very similar to this. In addition, we have a host of resources on our Facebook channel. So at NASDAQ Center, we've live stream a lot of the things that we do there. In addition to, we also record a lot of the talks that we've had from thought leaders. So we have podcast series that we produced. And then we have an acceleration, and I say acceleration, not accelerator, because we don't take any equity from the founder. It's pretty important, right?
Yep.
We don't invest, but we do provide a holistic approach to carrying a founder from A to B. So again, every stage, every industry. So everything from pre-launch to $1 million ARR businesses, and carry them across 12 weeks, pair them with mentors, coaches throughout the process, individualized learning paths, and it's a global application, so it's not just limited to people here in San Francisco. We've had over 68 founders come through the program, and it ends with a NASDAQ closing bell ceremony, not a demo day.
That's great.
Which is a celebration of radical achievement.
I love it.
Not a pitch moment where you're potentially not invested in it at the end of the day.
That's great. Final question, I'm actually going to ask you to pitch. And the reason is you are a nonprofit organization. You're not pitching for people to donate for all the poor entrepreneurs in San Francisco. But there is an opportunity for brands and organizations in this room, and for those that are watching, and for those that will watch the archive, and the way my team post-production edits this, I need you to pitch sponsoring NASDAQ so we can do some awesome events together there. Help me go get sponsor money. Everybody listen why you should give us money to do awesome events at NASDAQ. Get them, Colin.
Well, as I mentioned, we provide all these programs for entrepreneurs for free. And that's through the help of private entities, university partners like Wilson Sonsini, KPMG, big shout out to them. They've been really helpful in supporting these programs for founders that will ultimately change the world and help the companies that are involved with us partnering on this mission to do research on really how to unlock what makes a successful founder, the challenges that they're reaching, and then how to solve them, right? Ultimately, if you're a university and you're figuring out how to engage students at an earlier age, or how to unlock entrepreneurial programs that don't just turn into a project that's a deliverable and then it dies at the end, right? How many of you guys have ever done business school projects where you're like, there it is, got the A, and then I'm done, right? So really partnering with people smartly on how to achieve their goals with fueling entrepreneurs and within their organizations as well. So we do a lot of corporate entrepreneurship programs, and just really excited about working with people, especially the entrepreneurs, but organizations that are passionate about entrepreneurship.
Colin, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your support.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'll take it back. All right, I'm going to ask my partner, and I've had a lot of partners. John Weesey, why don't you come forward? He is the co-founder and the CTO of OneVi. I've had so many partners in my life because I'm just a guy that doesn't like to do anything alone. I don't think I'm super effective. I think I'm really good at communicating. I have a very narrow lane of what I'm good at. Making a lot of noise, attracting a lot of people, delegating and getting out of their way. And I've had lots of different types of partners. John, you have been the most surprisingly fun because of the age difference. Even though you look like you're 40, 45, you aren't. So you come with a lot of wisdom and not only fun and laughter, but it's been incredible to be your partner and to learn how to multiply each other's skill set, each other's efforts, dreaming a lot about finding that operator. I'm like celebrating with you. We found Alex, one of the great legends of the Silicon Valley, to come and operate our company. We aren't alone. We have 3 other CTO level guys that are also with us to build amazing products. And it's just a joy to run this race with you. Tell everybody here and those watching online, we know you're there, tell everybody about the future of voice as an operating system.
Yeah, thank you, Ian, for those nice words. I don't know if I live up to all that, but, you know, I'll say one thing. You know, the team is half of it, okay? You have bring good people together, and we're not all the same, okay? He likes to say I'm the mouth, okay? And we're the sort of engineers, guys who make things happen, right?
Just say it. You're the brains, I'm the mouth.
And then we recently brought on Alex as a CEO who bumps up our whole team another level, besides all the other people you've met here. So it's really amazing time for me to watch and learn. I don't like the mic. I've spoken at a lot of places, right? And you know, you can imagine I ran the sales and marketing in my last company. But I really enjoy building things. But people were unpredictable. They're harder than engineering work, as anybody who's had to run organizations. Engineering is an organization, but they're more like-minded, right? So anyway, so yeah, where do I see the future? Well, it's, you know, the word augment has come up along a lot. You know, I have twin girls. They suffered from learning disabilities at a very early age. And so everybody measures things on IQ and stuff. And, you know, it's really hard to see people that have had, you know, genetic issues where they're not able to sort of learn as fast as their dad does, right? And I wasn't always, you know, that bright in my career, right? But it was a lot of hard work. To see how things can augment people, and I see it as a leveling. You know, think about, you know, who's the brightest person you ever knew. Yeah. And now we have the possibility of technology making us all work together and know each other and learn to appreciate other personalities and other things. And what a world of being able to sort of get to know each other and the struggles and the joys in various lives and people. I think, I look at it as this, you know, we have a lot of opportunity to be good, loving human beings towards each other rather than, you know, being divided. We're pretty divided right now, but, you know, I don't think that's going to last. I think technology is an opportunity to sort of work around that. Whether we'll take it or not, we're humans, okay? We all have our prejudice and, you know, all that. But I see that augmentation of making our lives easier, okay? So what would you do if they didn't need you to be on the road selling all these customers and do this and that? What would you do? What would that world look like? Would you just sit in your easy chair and take whatever pay comes? I don't think so. People are creative. We've been creative from the very beginning. We've been called to be creative, to build things. It's in us. I think guys try to build things because we can't make babies, okay? I'm serious. You know, and women, I'm not saying women don't create things outside of, you know, their natural ability to give birth and have a child and all that. But you get to do actually both. So we, you know, not that, you know, it's a lot of work to do both too. But if you have the time, if you have the capability, if machines do more and more for us, and they don't judge us. Okay, so that was a stupid question. Well, these machines, they're not going to judge me because I don't know this or that, but it's the ability sort of to be more than I am, to be the best of I am, to sort of, give Limelight the ability to know the analytics anywhere in the world while you're on the road or on vacation, to sort of get down to really what you need instead of have to sort through Excel sheets that go on for miles, right? That I've spent way too much time on. But, it's not that that doesn't have to happen, but how can we make things useful for all of us? And don't worry about whether this is taking my job away, but it enhances me to do a better job beyond what I'm even capable of doing now. So
I'm going to ask you a question, and I really want those that are the elders watching online in the room to really pay attention. This is an important question. Our age gap is more than 25 years, and I'm not a 20-year-old, okay? So I'm the elder millennial. I'm almost a young Gen Xer. You're a baby boomer. This has not been easy for you, because I'm not just 25 years plus younger. I'm also extremely chaotic, very unstructured, quite manic, not the easiest thing to partner with. And you have not only stepped up and been a partner to me, but you have done it with joy and gladness. You have celebrated the things of benefit that I bring to our partnership and had grace over the things that are difficult for you. Not only because we're not just age gap, we're personality different, right? We're career different. Can you please talk to some of the elders that are in here, some of the elders that are watching live or will watch the archive? I really want you to speak authoritatively out of your experience of doing this with me and encourage these folks to grab a hold of younger people and run together and create something beautiful together.
Yeah, that's an interesting question my partner's posing. We are quite different in age. I have a baby face, which has never paid off when I was really young. And it's like, who are you? You're like a teenager all your life or whatever. You can't do that. So it's paid off now. But I really am been challenged. And I've chosen to be a teachable experience for myself. And, the way marketing and sales were done by me is a whole lot different when you're, the school where you go to a trade show, you get all the contacts, the partnerships you may want to do, spend lots and lots of money for those booths, and all the time and travel for your team. This new age is making that much more efficient. And what I'm learning is how to love across generations and learning how to sort of look as an opportunity to sort of, how can I learn things from, we had some even younger than you here today, but Garrett and his kids.
That's right.
And you're learning from them.
I am.
I'm learning from you a whole new way of looking at how marketing and sales is going to change in the next generation. And we're actually doing algorithms around that. But for me to do an algorithm on a blockchain, I have to understand. It took me a long time. What is attention? What is influence? How do you multiply your attention? What does Safe Book really sell? They sell attention through a channel. And their channel is Facebook. you know, they gather influencers to pay them money to put ads on there, and they know the data inside and out of who you're trying to meet. So that's really the old ad style, any ad style, whether it was newspaper or you know, a phone book, which I always hated. They throw them in my driveway. I have to throw them in the garbage can the next day, every day. But I have to give it up. Anyways, so what does the new world look like for the new models that are sort of being accepted in a different fashion than I'm used to? So it's been really fun to sort of say, how do we do this on the blockchain? How do we give value across the whole value chain of creators, whether that be graphics or you know, voice content or whatever? How do we reward people with micropayments, et cetera? How do we do it in a way that gives everybody a good feeling in their creativity side? So learning that has been something that I'm like, okay, Ian, how the heck am I going to do this? I don't even understand what the young people are doing. So you have to understand it. So it's a learning experience. But it's also been a joy. You know, I have grandkids now, so it's good to sort of be able to do cross-generational loving people, okay? I mean, we have to learn how to love each other if we're ever going to solve the big problems. And what if we have come to an age where a lot of these tasks that we have to do are more automated? I'm not saying the singularity, it will be here when it's here. You know, I thought it was here at one point in some of our conversations, but I was wrong. Like, what do I do? Why don't I just go love on my grandkids? But, you know, and do nothing. But that's a whole nother discussion. But, you know, as a company, we have, and I don't want to brag too much, but we have been bragging a little bit. We have such a team that love each other and get along with each other. And we have a focus on the mission to better other people's lives and better other people's businesses. And it's such an amazing time we live in. We have so many things changing simultaneously. It's a little scary. When he says to a UI, UX guy, he's like, yeah, it's going to change everything you knew. You gotta learn this. And we don't even know what that looks like yet. So what's all this? So we need to take the fear out of it and embrace the things we don't know and have fun. I mean, the last probably 10 weeks, we've been all over Europe and all over the Bay Area. And I think he's trying to wear me out. You know, I've slept in so many different places.
Just testing your resolve. John, thank you for coming up and letting me put another microphone in your face. Okay, we have one last interview before our final keynote. Lindsay, please come up. I want to make a declaration to all founders and executives. It is not your core executive team that matters exclusively. Everybody in every company is completely equal. And if you don't get that, you won't have support, period. That's just the way it is. They may stick around for a wage. They may stick around for what it gives them emotionally to have a job or to have a position. But when it really comes down to it, thank you. If I don't honor you, Lindsay, our administrative assistant, if I don't honor you, Gabe and Griffin, our market research interns, if I don't honor Alex, our CEO, and John, our CTO, all equally across the board, then what kind of organization is it? And really ask yourself, because what do you want to build? You know, so the reason I asked you to come up is because I love the way you think. I honor and value you equally amongst everybody else in the whole organization. And I'd love to just hear your thoughts on where voice as an operating system is going, why you're attracted to work with us. You came to us with Ryan Opfer. as his operations person, and then you were kind enough to slowly take on more and more responsibility in our company. I hope that generations from now, your great-great-great-grandkids watch this and say, wow, we are still living off of the fruit of Lindsay's life because she took the risk and joined a team and felt as an equal, and so worked equally hard to create something that was great and amazing that compensates not you alone, but generations to come. I hope, hey, Johnny, congratulations for having Lindsay as your great-great-grandma. Tell us a bit about your future projection, voice as an operating system.
Yeah, absolutely. I am highly driven. I love productivity, and so voice is incredibly exciting to me because it means I can do a lot more of my favorite word, which is automation. I have had a to-do list as high as the sky since as long as I can remember, and so having my own kind of assistant when I am someone else's assistant is incredibly exciting to me. It means that I no longer have to delegate and explain things and hire down. I can have somebody more or less right next to me that I train, that learns me, that knows me, that is integrated into my systems. I love that I can have not just a machine, hypothetical machine of automation that I've created through different software services, but I can have an actual machine that learns me and that knows me, that I can, I hope, speak to, touch, look at. I want to be able to engage with voice with all of my senses. I want it real close and real personal to help me do what I do to make my companies better.
And you do. And we're very, very grateful for it. What are you most excited about as voice continues to progress when you think about things you currently cannot automate, but you hope to automate in a season or in several years? Just give us an idea of like, what are you looking toward?
Yeah, near future, as I've kind of just dabbled in voice in my home and with work, I'm excited for it just to start touching everything. I want it to integrate with my phone, with every app that I have. I want it to integrate with every single platform that I use, everything that I do in my daily life. I want it to touch those things. So I'm excited for it just to start expanding in the small ways. I'm excited for the learning piece to grow, where it doesn't just have to be Google, for example, that trains my device what I want, but I can train my device. That it learns my specific rhythms. When I say this, this is what I mean. We failed once, and now every time it knows me. It knows what I want. It knows what I expect. So I'm really excited for the self-learning, customization, individualization piece that will look different for every company, that will look different for every individual, that will look different for me when I'm working with Ian, look different for me when I'm working with recorded word, look different for me when I'm in my kitchen making spaghetti for my family. So I think those are the two pieces I'm really, really looking forward to.
Thank you for coming up and letting me interview for a moment. We're
Absolutely.
so happy that you're part of our team.
Very privileged and honored. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to call forward Eric. Are we going to show a video? Yes. So Eric, why don't you come take the microphone? Let me introduce you, and no rush, Ryan, but when you get to it, you can play the video. Eric, you're one of my favorite people, but that started off with dodgeball. That's how we got to know each other, dodgeball, and just being around a bunch of other executives that are running as peers, not together. And so you and I, we've had this experience of being around a bunch of other guys that all are building things together, some of them in the room and certainly many of them watching online. And you and I had no idea we were playing in the same space until recently.
That's right.
And then we just had this like aha moment, like, what do you mean you do innovation at Microsoft? What do you mean you built all these apps with, Cortana? Like, well, tell me everything. I want to. So that's why I asked Eric to come and speak, not just because we're friends, but because of his position in developing amazing enterprise software in the voice space. And so I believe we're going to show a video. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you sit, show a video, narrate it. When you're ready for me to come back up in 2 or 7 minutes, call me and I will respond.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Great. Well, hello.
Coptivity is this idea that voice interface is becoming a natural way for people to work.
Instead of calling dispatch where they call in a license plate number that can take up to 30 minutes, they can easily just say the license plate number, which goes to a chatbot using cognitive services.
Adam 12, go ahead.
Chris would transcribe that information, and then from there that will go to the Lewis service in Azure, which then understands that the deputy is intending to run the registered owner.
Property successfully queried. Your plate is 1129 exempt by statute for last of Salt first of Tiffany on a 71 Chev.
Giving an officer, a deputy, better situational awareness in the moment, because now he's keeping his eyes on the situation, immediately give the plates, and then get information before he even steps out of the car.
It also saves the time of dispatchers so they can focus on more complex queries.
With the captivity, they don't need to call anymore. So in a couple of minutes, they can have their results, and that will be amazing, and in some scenarios, life-saving.
Utilizing Lewis and the different software available on the Azure stack is what makes this possible.
We're looking at Azure to really transform what we do and how we do it and bring new innovations to the table.
When you can use the new tools and services that technology is providing and make everything easier, faster, and more efficient to your end users.
So that they can basically do what they need to do. Right? It's leveraging technology to solve problems.
Artificial intelligence is a great example of how our customers are able to leverage amazing hyperscale capabilities that we built in our facilities and use them uniquely and creatively on the edge. And I think you'll find a great example of using voice assistant and cognitive services to develop a solution that hopefully will actually help our public safety and our officers that are out on the edge provide better services to the citizens.
It's one of the things that makes me proud to work at Microsoft. We invest resources to help customers accelerate progress on their digital transformation journey.
It's a continuous process, right? We just continuously move forward. That's kind of, the way I see digital transformation is more like digital evolution.
Accelerate progress on their digital transformation journey. It's a continuous process, right? We just continuously move forward. That's kind of, the way I see digital transformation is more like digital evolution. Okay, great. So that's called Coptivity. So, a little bit of a corporate aspect in there, but pretty neat for officers in the field. Instead of waiting a long time for dispatch, they pull over a car. Many of us have seen that, right? A police officer behind a car and nothing's happening while they're waiting for dispatch to get back to them. And using voice, this is what this team had the idea of. Could we expedite that and make it so the officers don't have to wait and can get access to that data faster? So great way for an enterprise to use voice to impact their mission in a positive way. And then I like to geek out about how it works. And it's stunning to me, having been in technology for a couple decades, of just how easily and quickly you can build these types of voice applications when you're starting in the cloud. Because you can just invoke these services. And Amazon has these same services, so does Google. So whatever platform you're using, you can use something like the Chris is like a custom speech service. Then it goes to the language understanding. So the officer starts with a code and says 1039 a plate, and then goes to the processor interprets that, meaning, oh, that means run a license plate. Then it runs a license plate, or then it creates the string to submit to the database to actually run that plate. And then it comes back and goes from text, from JSON to text to voice. So it's incredible how easy this is. I mean, to do this years ago would have taken teams of specialists and experts to build this custom, and now you're just invoking services that are on a platform that you can quickly pull in without any specialization. So that's the one voice example, and then I'm going to show a second video that let's see. Yeah, just type in YouTube. I don't know why it refreshed. It'll probably be the first thing. Yeah, that Meet Eureka right there. So this is from the state of California. They just posted this, and this was another project I worked on.
Eureka is the Secretary of State's new online search assistant. Eureka can help you navigate our website and connect you to the information you need quickly and easily. Powered by Microsoft's artificial intelligence, Eureka is a smart search assistant who uses your search inquiry to pull up the most relevant, useful information. Eureka currently knows answers to frequently asked business entity and trademark questions. For example, if you need help finding your Secretary of State issued business entity number, just type in, "How do I find my entity number?" or simply, "entity number." And Eureka will provide you with helpful information and link you to our California Business Search webpage, where you can look up your business entity number and access free copies of previously filed documents. Eureka responds best to short questions or keywords, and Eureka gets smarter the more questions you ask. Let Eureka help you. Click the bear icon on the bottom right of the screen to get started.
Yeah, thank you. So that's a customer video. So all of us are here in California. If you want to start a business, that's where you have to start. And so this is the idea of using chatbots to expedite people's access to information. But as we see, we're here to talk about voice. This is the crawl version of being able to do that in voice, right? The walk version is then a more transactional bot where you can actually get things done and query databases with data unique to yourself or your account. And then the third phase, the run phase, is the voice phase. So it's exciting to be here today with Ian and listening to everybody. It's fun to be able to work on some of these innovative projects, and it's exciting to think about what we're all going to be talking about in the next few years. So Ian, happy to continue the conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. So please take a seat. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have Alex come up and spend time with you. And the reason is Alex Farr, who's our CEO, and Eric, who is over at Microsoft Cortana, and I and our team and his team, like we just been dreaming together. Like what's possible with voice as an operating system. I've been interviewing constantly, and I'd love to just let you and Alex have a conversation. The reason is when I sit down and I listen to you and Alex talk, I just want to ask questions. I'm assuming that will happen inside here. So I'm just going to kind of, Alex, why don't you come up? I'm going to grab you a microphone, and I'm going to have you and Eric just talk for a bit. And this is kind of how we will wrap up the final keynote. And everybody online, thank you for your attention. Congratulations for tuning in.
Thanks, Ian.
It's really fun to talk to you. I've been getting to know you, and very blessed to have you in my life. And I've learned so much from you, and you've brought so much value into our company so far, which I am eternally grateful for. And this relationship that we're building together as friends, but also with Microsoft, is something that for me is really a blessing. So what I want to ask of you is, I've been so impressed with Microsoft beyond. And the resources that you're sharing with startups, and that you're encouraging startups, and you're giving startups what they need, which is that guidance and that framework. They're going to do the hard work, right? It's up to us to do the hard work. But when a big company like Microsoft steps up in this capacity and says, here, we're genuinely here to help you. It's not about our platform, somebody else's platform, but we want to do this with you. This is something that is incredible for me, and anybody who's listening out there, I just want for you to listen very closely to what Microsoft is doing. And this man here is the one who's cherry picking the startups and deciding a lot of these things. So the fact that you're here is a really blessing, I think, for a lot of people who are listening to this, because they're looking for resources, they're looking to be inspired, and they're looking to have a framework to build upon. Right. So can you talk about some of the criteria that you use to spot hot teams and hot deals and hot prospects, and really give them what they need to succeed, and what Microsoft sees as a vision for that?
Yeah, you bet, Alex. Yeah, it's fun to, if you think about what when somebody's ahead of the curve, who's doing something that you think, wow, that's a really good idea. Everybody's going to want to do that in the next phase or in the next few years. And then Microsoft does invest a lot of resources to help people do that. And if they're doing it on Azure, even better, right? And so, yeah, for everything from the BizSpark program, where startups can get free technology, technical support, things like that, to their venture fund, as well as we see it with the sales team and the sales engineering. They're giving a lot of support and help to just enable, right? Not creating something like on a services contract, but when somebody's trying to build something, to say, oh, here's the fastest way to do that. Oh, here's some resource links that'll help you do that well. Here are your 3 options, and here where you can learn to decide what you want to do. So that's a lot of fun to see have those conversations that are kind of come before innovation, the pre-innovation conversations, and then have a platform that that can help people do great things.
Thank you. I want to talk to you specifically about your personal vision, also what Microsoft thinks as well, but what are some of your visions and hope about the voice space as it relates to meaningful search? So we all want to meaningfully get information, right? We're talking about an insurance example. We want to meaningfully get an information about our claim, our quote, our industry that happens to be insurance. The customer who's dealing with that cycle wants meaningful information. In your world, what are some of the pitfalls and dangers that the voice space can become? And we've offline talked about some of these things with the App Store model, and we want to be more inclusive, and we want to bring more people into voice. We don't want to just say, this is for Fortune 50. Nobody else is welcome. Is that the kind of voice we want to say? Is that voices for Fortune 50 and no one else? Does that sound good to anybody? Everybody else is left out. Nobody else can get in. And I want you to talk about that and talk about your personal vision and maybe, if you feel comfortable talking about Microsoft's, but certainly your own. You're inside, you know what's going on, and I want everyone to hear what is the best world scenario for voice as a marketplace for information.
Yeah, I think as a marketplace for information, it's incredibly powerful because, like someone wrote on the wall in there, who wrote, frees us from the tyranny of screens? There you go, Ted. Yeah, so that's a great observation. And honestly, that's what Coptivity does, right? That's what we just showed. That's why law enforcement agencies all around the world are emailing me. I don't know how they figure out the connection, but there's just such a hunger for that because you can complete your mission without looking at a screen. And wow, think about that. If you're a law enforcement officer and you just pulled over a car, you need to keep eyes on target for your situational awareness. You don't want to have hands and eyes and ears all stuck on your screen. So you can apply that to everything from consumer situations, finding out information quickly, to enterprise applications, to how do you fix something on a factory floor, and then also the convergence of voice with chatbots with AR just seems very powerful for how we start with our voice, and then it leads to our vision. And that's how we're able to gain information and make decisions and then make transactions, whether it's through whatever you're trying to do, if you're transacting in an enterprise or transacting as a consumer. So I see that's pretty exciting to me, having gone through the mobile, the mobile kind of revolution with mobile apps, and then to me that's another level that's even more exciting in my mind.
No, thank you. Talk a little bit, Eric, if you may, about small business, small enterprise, small organizations. Certainly what we're doing at our company, we're going to be making solutions for big business first. We're going into enterprise, and that's great, that's fine. But really I have my eye on everyone because everyone needs this, everyone's going to benefit from this, and we want to invite them and bring them in. So how do you see, in an ideal world, a small business owner who's sitting around going, what is my voice strategy? I didn't even do an app because I have 25 employees, and I'm not going to go spend $175,000 on an app. So I totally got left out of that market, and I don't want that to happen to me here. I want to be responsible and part of my own brand reputation management. I don't want Yelp to do the talking for me. I want to also be talking to people. And specifically as it relates to people who don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in budget and a team of 50 people just for reputation management, those are small businesses. How do we talk to them? How do we engage them? How do we alleviate their fears that what the app stores did to them doesn't happen again?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've talked about that is the web, small businesses around the country definitely, benefited from the web, but the mobile, it's kind of like a lot of them are left out because of the barrier to entry to hire teams to have compelling mobile apps. And like we see, right, there's 100 mobile apps around the world that get used like crazy, and then everybody else's maybe less. Whereas with voice, just being able to create a WAV file is a lot lower barrier to entry than being able to create a fully native, high-quality mobile app for iOS and Android that's the barrier now. So I think that's much more inclusive in terms of the opportunity for small businesses to benefit from it, which ultimately benefits their customers because those customers can access information and find out about them and learn about them and then make decisions about conducting business with them. So I think that's really encouraging about voice.
I love that. That is the vision that I have. I just want everyone involved with voice, and I don't want it to be a niche marketplace because then the devices that these big companies that put all these billions into R&D is going to be a niche thing. And this shouldn't be a ramp up to AR. AR is incredibly exciting. We're already talking about it in our company, and we're putting plans into place now. However, this is not a next year thing. Really, the promise of AR and the Jarvis, as Tony Stark was talking to him, is several years off, you guys. Okay, it's not going to happen tomorrow. And what's going to happen from now until then? And this is what I want you to talk about. This time that we have, these several years. Nobody knows how long it is, but this time that we have to make voice usable now to people and give them a head start, so they're not sitting around waiting for AR. Like the voice is the now and of the next few years. Can you talk about that vision for every organization? How do you see them using voice now to get their content translated into those WMV files and then sent over to Alexa, Siri, Cortana, and all the other devices? Can you talk about that process so they understand how it works?
Yeah, well, you asked a good question, right? You used to say, what's your web strategy? What's your mobile strategy? And now it's, well, what's your voice strategy? And hopefully this will be a phase where more companies can be involved and more consumers as well. So yeah, one of the things I'm recommending, just like with the chat bots, the crawl, walk, run, is to start with questions and answers. That's kind of like your first generation chatbot is Q&A, but it's sometimes a little quirky, and if you don't ask the perfect question, you kind of get bogged down. But to start with voice in a way that creates those bite-sized, hey, what questions do people most want to know about my business or what my content, and what do I want them to know, and then start with that, and then gradually expand from there. Which is also interesting, like you've talked about, Alex, is the reputation management and brand management because of those third parties. TripAdvisor, if you're in the travel business, or Yelp, if you have a Main Street business, that's kind of out of their hands. And this could be a way to kind of get control of that back for small businesses and, frankly, for enterprises as well. That's pretty interesting.
That's what my vision is as well. I see you looking for a hotel, and the search engines, which are not us or somebody, it's Bing and it's Google, and they're the predominant search engines out there. Well, these two search engines are going to go out there and draw upon something to give you information. So one thing I've been very impressed with Cortana is that Cortana has a big focus on business, and you guys obviously, that product is already entrenched in business. So what I'm really interested in our company is a huge focus to let businesses control their own destinies. And that's what you guys are doing with your technology. You're already there. So I just want people to realize that absolutely we develop on Google, we develop on Alexa, absolutely, that's not even a question. We love those platforms. But Cortana has a big time specific focus on helping business. And that's something that's been really impressive to me, because that's exactly who I want to help. I want to help businesses be able to manage their own reputation through your technologies. Can you talk a little bit about that, about Cortana's strategy specifically within Microsoft and business, and how you want to help businesses?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what what Microsoft has announced is a focus on the enterprise. I think there's probably some kind of marketplace reality and where you fit in compared to Alexa and others, and the install base of Windows operating system devices all around the world is pretty significant. So they have focused the Cortana strategy around that. Just recently, the Enterprise Skills Kit for Cortana was released, so that's a specific focus on helping enterprises get that control of their brand back and be able to generate voice content that either their employees, their enterprise can use, or the public can access about those enterprises. So yeah, it's interesting to see that where that focus is based on where Microsoft is strong in the market and where that install base is, and as well as how Cortana can help those enterprises go there next.
If you were talking to investors who are sitting around going, well, who do I invest in? Where do I put my money? Right now, obviously, it's not a public market thing, right? So it's going to be an insider thing that when you get access to a deal, you have access to a deal. But if you were talking to an investor right now, whether they are institutional capital and VCs or whether they are private investors or angels out there who are obviously very intelligent people but may not have a lot of experience in the voice space in particular, what advice would you give to those people and what to look for besides the standard, make sure the team is good, make sure they've had experience, but in particular, like what solutions are being solved and what should they look for and what's compelling? What are some of the things you can share about this space in particular for an investor who might be interested to look at these deals and pay serious attention to this space?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't know that I have a great answer to it, but it does seem like we're in the very early stages. Just preparing for today, I went to the Cortana skills page, and it's striking how few there are compared to where this is going to be. And there's like some fight songs for your college, and then there's some enterprises that are big brands that we all know, and then there's some other kind of random things. There's a polling place in the Caribbean, so you could just ask, hey, where's my nearest polling place? Which you think, why wouldn't every local government have that? That's such a natural use case, but not one that I'd thought of until I saw that skill. So it just seems like it's pretty early. And same thing when you look at Alexa, the market leaders, especially for the consumer side, but it's still very few if you think about compared to websites. So it seems to me like for investors, as that you would want to look for people who are building kind of the plumbing, because we are so early, that really connect a lot of players in the ecosystem. But yeah, it's interesting to see. It does just feel very early, even though we're all used to speaking, but not necessarily transacting or anywhere near where we could be. So I think you have to look far ahead and see who has the ability to kind of create an ecosystem that a lot of people will really want to benefit from and be a part of.
Well, that's exactly right, and I appreciate that honest answer. And we are investing. I think a lot of people who know what's going on are investing in the plumbing side of things. Right. Somebody's got to build the highway, right? Yeah. So maybe you'd be open right now to some questions from people in the audience. Go ahead.
Sure. Hi, how's it going? Hey.
Love the new talk. It's really cool.
Okay.
My question's on co-opetition. Obviously, Microsoft, Apple, all these other guys are in the market, and in terms of voice technology, we want everything to be, want it to take off. How do you guys react to each other building new products? I understand it's very competitive, but I also understand that you guys kind of want to work together. How is that working with you in particular? How do you see it from an inside perspective?
Yeah, and I just, I speak for myself, not on behalf of Microsoft, but, it's interesting, the pretty recent announcement for Cortana and Alexa, the partnership between Microsoft and Amazon. I mean, fierce competitors in the cloud market, but in this voice, now you can activate the other service through the one company's service, right? Hey, Cortana, open Alexa, or hey, Alexa, open Cortana. So it does. I mean, it's a great observation. It's a very interesting marketplace because you have to be inclusive of other technologies and other platforms to an extent, but you also want yours to thrive and do well. So yeah, I think the challenge is basically who can get the most content that the most people and most enterprises find relevant, and how fast can they get it there so that people get used to going to them for that content. I mean, could it be a search engine of, well, there's a few different search engines, and thinking with a web metaphor, right, is well, you had different search engines and you could always choose the one you wanted, and then the market kind of consolidated and you found you got better results with one. Well, maybe that's the same with voice systems as things go forward, and maybe Microsoft's becomes enterprise focused because that's been the releases and the announcements, and others are more consumer focused. But I think that's going to be the challenge. But you're right; it's interesting to see the co-opetition or competimates or teammates and competitors at the same time. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Take one more question.
Yeah. Hi there.
You briefly talked about the integration and connection with voice and search engines, and I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more on where you see kind of the connection between search advertising and voice devices.
Interesting. Okay. I don't know much about advertising.
Yeah, please repeat the question.
But oh yeah, so the question was about voice and search, right? And with a lens on advertising, side of the impact of that. Yeah, I mean, I think from just a voice search part, gosh, I mean, wouldn't it be great to be able to do that without typing and without staring at a screen? So that's what's exciting to me about voice. When you see these enterprise applications that kind of help the mission, but also just our fundamental, how do we go get information? Leading with voice seems so natural and seems so, to me, just seems inevitable. So it's exciting to see that. In terms of the impact of advertising, that's a really interesting question. That's something I have no idea. What are your thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, so advertising, if you remember, the industry that really launched advertising on a grand level was radio. So radio advertising we're going back to a version of that, right? So that's how I see it, is there's going to be similar ads in voice that, of course, you may not even know it's an ad. So the results are pay for play. So that's how I see it happening as well. So the results that are being told to you, of course, have to be authentic, and there'll be a code to determine whether it's authentic. However, you'll just be told a set of 5 results, and 1 or 2 or 3 might be just pay for play. And you're probably not going to click on the 5th one. You're just going to click on the first one. So it's actually a huge marketplace for somebody who wants that keyword. It's just not a keyword. Yeah.
Yeah.
Add to that,
Yeah.
with just being in the branding and advertising side, you're going to have voice SEO, and what Alex you talked about is owning those keywords, but also what opens up a platform is when you own an interest, like a brand can capitalize on a interest-based question. So I'm looking for restaurants near X place. So you're not actually looking for a specific restaurant, but once you have you're capitalizing on that particular interest-based topic or question, you have the ability to buy those search keywords or interest-based search, and that's how voice can capitalize there.
Exactly. Yeah, very, very well said. I think we are going to hand the mic off back to Ian to take over, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to my friend Eric, and thank
Alex,
you, Eric,
thank
so
you.
much. Yeah, and thank you guys for great questions.
Thanks,
for Eric.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thanks a lot, Alex.
We're going to go ahead and run a video about steeped coffee. Can all of us thank Steeped Coffee for coming here, making coffee for us, spiking it with Kahlua and Bailey's, and keeping us liquidated. Go ahead, press play. Finish up. I'm going to do my best to put the period at the end of the sentence. Okay? Steeped coffee is an example of sometimes something comes into your life that you have no expertise in. You may not think you have much value to offer, but it just makes sense. Why? Because Keurig has sold so many of those containers you can wrap around the earth 110 times, and there is a better way. And maybe steeped coffee is the Keurig killer. So I want to thank Steep. They've been a sponsor for every single event that we've done in the last year. They've consistently shown up and served people and told them about what they're up to. And if you follow them on Instagram, they're giving 10 free packages away to people that follow them right now. So feel free to bounce from the live stream. Go on Steeped Coffee on Instagram, STEEPED, or to do that right here, right now. So how do I wrap? How do I put a period in the sentence? So many people talking. I think something to understand is this is not a 50-year-old white man's game. That wasn't what was represented here today. There was every age, every gender, every ethnicity. This is not just niched to one group. You don't need money to compete, to collaborate, to make it in this. You don't need English to be your first language. I mean, think about how much easier it is to make voice apps than mobile apps or websites. It's a completely different environment. You don't have to wait 5 or maybe 25 years for voice to mature like you do for blockchain. You can take advantage of voice right now. Joe Rogan, UFC fighting dude, then Fear Factor, and then #1 podcast in the world. Why? Because Joe realized that he was really good at long-form video and audio content and took advantage of it. He is one of many. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're in the room in San Francisco with all the resources of this place, or if you're watching from Cairo, Egypt, or Sydney, Australia, or London, England, or New York, New York, or any of the other 32 cities that we've targeted to live stream to. Doesn't matter where you're at, what your story is, doesn't matter what your potential handicaps might be, you can succeed in voice. You can succeed in voice. And you don't need to be a founder. You don't need to do it on your own. You don't need to come up with some sort of great idea. Just find somebody that has a great idea. They need help. They'll put you to work. Just find somebody that's a visionary. They can't do much except for talk. Trust me, I know. They need your help. Find someone. Join a team. Collaborate with others. Find other consultants. Don't compete. Collaborate. This is far too early for you to come in at war in this industry. This is the time to lock arm in arm, work together, let a rising tide raise all ships, because voice is not just the future, voice is now. Like Gabriel and Griffin, you are not the future. You don't matter in 10 years. You are right now. You are the present. You matter today. What you shared today was as valuable or more valuable than anything anybody else older than you shared. We want to listen to you. And there's other kids that are watching. We want to listen to you. We want to build products for you. We don't know what you need. We don't know how you work this stuff. We're still older or foreign to how this all goes. Everybody's voice matters. Realize this. There are billions of people that today are oppressed. They will not be oppressed in the future. Why? Because they will, for the first time, be able to speak in their own language and interact with technology without a degree, without education, without support, without money, without the right family. I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it. This is real. And there's a lot of tech that we can get excited about. Voice is one, blockchain is one, machine learning is one. Yes, Elon Musk is right. It's a huge risk that we need to mitigate. Because right now, we don't even know who's creating machine learning. We don't know what their belief is. We don't know what their worldview is. We don't know what they're baking into the system. We don't know what their motivations are. It's a risk. And yeah, Elon, he says stuff, it freaks me out. Okay? He says the worst case scenario, and I'm like, well, at least he's not just dystopic. At least he's trying to mitigate risk. Are you mitigating risk? That's my question for you today. Are you leaning in And are you using your resources in UI and becoming a VUI? Are you taking your resources as a consultant, your network, your expertise, your wisdom, your knowledge, and applying it to this industry, and then working with others to encourage them to do so as well? Or as a senior developer, or as a brand evangelist, or as a sales strategic co-founder, or as a sales operator, or as an administrator, or as a brand legend, or as a futurist? Are you in this industry for the right reasons and saying, there's opportunity for me here? Because it's not just about your bottom line or your bank account or you on a magazine or you in a blog post or you being talked about or a YouTube video or a Facebook video that, you know what? I mean, people will see this in the future. Hey, I'm loving you right now. The thing is, this won't matter in a week, in a month. There'll be some other charismatic lady, some other charismatic guy that'll stand up and say something like I'm saying, and they'll have the limelight for a second, and hopefully they'll build a stage and bring some other people up and not make it about themselves, but make it about the community, and then they'll fade and it'll be the next one. What will not fade is the tech that is built. It is not the voices that speak forth what could be into existence. It is the brains, it is the sleeves that roll their sleeves up and say, we're going to build this thing. Many of you in this room and watching online are the builders. Join the rest of us. Build something of significance. This is your time. This is the moment. Don't let it pass. Don't watch this in 10 years and say, I can't believe I was in that room. I can't believe I had the chance to be a part of something, and I didn't. I just kept doing the same thing I've always done. This is your moment. It matters what you do from this time. It matters. We need you. I need you. I really can't do anything except for talk. Like, that's my only thing. I'm good at talking without a script. That's what I do. That's basically it. I can't program, can't operate, can't handle finances. I can barely get anything done. I talk at 1,000% capacity. I can do about 50% capacity. So I need Lindsay and Annalise and Landru and Sergio and the other dozen people around me to actually fulfill the 1,000% capacity I talk about. Some of you are like me, not many. Most of you are people that should be on my team and on teams of other people like me. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. It will happen with or without you. Please join us. I'd like to show another steeped video. I'd like to then show other videos that we didn't get a chance to play because we fell behind in schedule. I want to invite you to drink the rest of the alcohol. Unless you have a problem with alcohol, then you stay away. Just kidding. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. Bailey's, Kahlua is back there, the coffee, the drinks. Inside this room is a whiteboard wall. It is very, very important to me that you write what you see the future of the voice to be, because that we're collecting and sharing, and there's a photo booth, ton of fun, take pictures with people, get the printout. Thank you so much. Grateful for your attention. Thank you so much.
Here's how Trint works. Trint takes audio and video files and uses artificial intelligence to convert them to text. You can transcribe recorded speech, an interview, a public hearing, a university lecture, a podcast, or just your own thoughts.
What does Trint mean? Transcription? An interview?
Then we glue the original file so you can follow along and listen, and if necessary, edit and correct. It's a bit like karaoke, but without the painful renditions of 80s rock songs. Trint gives you a first draft transcript that's incredibly easy to edit. Click on a word to review it, and if you need to change a word, edit it in your Trint, then you can add it to your custom dictionary for the next time. Highlight text in multiple colors to see the length of different sound bites. And we take care of separating speakers into paragraphs.
I, Megan, take you, Harry.
I'm Megan, take you, Harry.
Export your Trint in all sorts of formats, either one at a time or a bunch at a time. You can email a copy to another Trint user or collaborate on the same transcript. You can also automatically add captions to video files with our free extension for Adobe Premiere Pro. What is said can now be read. Sign up for a free trial and see how Trint is revolutionizing the way we work.
Hey, this is Steve with Dabble Lab. In this video, I'm going to just do a demo of a skill that we're building for a client project that I think illustrates the possibilities of Alexa in business. And also in a future video, I'm going to do a video on how to build this or something similar. So Alexa, start our daily meeting.
Hello, I'm ready for our meeting, but I'll need your authorization code to continue.
4367251.
Okay, I've confirmed your authorization code. Would you like to start with sales, marketing, finance, or product development?
Let's start with sales.
Okay, here's what's going on with sales. Gross sales as of yesterday, September 25th, were $333,276. That's 37% ahead of plan for the month. Pretty sweet. Robert is the top sales rep this month with gross sales of $64,321. This is Robert's third month in a row as the top salesperson, but Mary isn't far behind with gross sales of $63,427. Go Mary. What would you like an update on next?
How about finance?
Here's the finance update. As of yesterday, we're current on all payables. We have $632,471 in total receivables. The one concern I have is that our receivables aging has been increasing every month for the past 3 months. It's not a major issue yet, but if this continues, I may have to go all digital on somebody. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. What's next?
Can you send a status update to investors?
Okay, I sent an update to investors. I've also archived it for reporting.
Tell me about product development.
Here's where we are with product development. We're currently in sprint number 17, which ends on September 29th, 2017. There have been a total of 3 pull requests, and 2 pull requests that have been merged into the master branch. There are 17 active GitHub contributors. Bosco 1984 is the most active contributor with 271 commits this sprint. Wow, I'd like that person working on my code. The most active open issue is two-factor authorization doesn't always send a code, which is now 7 days old and has 32 comments. What do you want to hear about next?
What's going on in support?
Here's the latest updates for support. Twitter is our most active support channel with 177 direct messages or replies. Facebook is second with 126 comments or messages. Of all the public comments, 27 seem to be negative. One person seems very irritated and has posted 7 negative comments. I'll email the negative comments to you now. What do you want to hear about next?
I guess we should talk about marketing.
Here's what's up in marketing. Our total cost per lead for this month is just under $23. That's in range with what we projected. Our marketing cost per sale is still increasing, at an average of $372. So our sales closing rate is dropping. This could be either an issue with lead quality or sales closing rates. You should look into this further. Our lead flow was good, but this month we had 62% of our leads come from Facebook lead ads. That's a lot of leads from a single source. Also, our cost per lead from the Kate's Case Study campaign is really good, at just about $7. But that campaign just started last week and we don't have any sales from it yet. What would you like to hear about next?
That's it for now.
Hello, I'm ready for our meeting, but I'll need your authorization code
Alexa,
to continue.
stop.
Okay, I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah, so that's our voice dashboard skill that we've been working on. If you're interested, I'm thinking of like doing a video on how we put it together, but wanted to gauge interest. If you're interested, leave comments. And yeah, thanks. That's Voice Dashboards.
Sorry, it took so long.
Hi, Mary.
Yeah, this is right here.
It's a very simple question to start with. Do you have any family or friends that you would like to reconnect with, even if you don't know how to reach them?
Mom, I love you and I miss you and I need to see you.
Took a walk down Market Street, and I asked every homeless person I met if they would like to leave a holiday message for a family member or friend they hadn't seen in a while. Met a man named Jeffrey who said he hadn't seen his family in 22 years, recorded a video to his sister and his niece and nephew. And I took the video home that night on my smartphone. I didn't know what to do with it. And he had said that he's from this little town in Pennsylvania. It's like, okay, so I looked up the towns on Facebook, and there was a Facebook group. Posted the video there and asked, the admins if they could share it. And within an hour, it had been shared hundreds of times, liked thousands of times. It made the local news that night. And his sister was tagged in the post in the first 20 minutes of it being on the website.
Worried about you, you're okay. Tell him I'm all right.
The power of the device in your pocket, not just take and share selfies or to watch like cat videos, but also to help a person who's been on and off the streets for decades reconnect to the family who goes to bed thinking about him every night. Social media can be used for social good.
Coptivity is this idea that voice interface is becoming a natural way for people to work.
Instead of calling dispatch, where they call in a license plate number that can take up to 30 minutes, they can easily just say the license plate number, which goes to a chatbot using cognitive services.
Adam 12, go ahead.
Chris would transcribe that information, and then from there that will go to the Lewis service in Azure, which then understands that the deputy is intending to run the registered owner.
Property successfully queried. Your plate is 1129 exempt by statute for last of Salt, first of Tiffany on a 71 Chev.
Giving an officer, a deputy, better situational awareness in the moment, because now he's keeping his eyes on the situation, immediately give the plates, and then get information before he even steps out of the car.
It also saves the time of dispatchers so they can focus on more complex queries.
With the captivity, they don't need to call anymore. So in a couple minutes, they can have their results, and that will be amazing, and in some scenarios, life-saving.
Utilizing Lewis and the different software available on the Azure Stack is what makes this possible.
We're looking at Azure to really transform what we do and how we do it and bring new innovations to the table.
When you can use the new tools and services that technology is providing and make everything easier, faster, and more efficient to your end users.
So that they can basically do what they need to do. Right? It's leveraging technology to solve problems.
Artificial intelligence is a great example of how our customers are able to leverage amazing hyperscale capabilities that we built in our facilities and use them uniquely and creatively on the edge. And I think you'll find a great example of using voice assistant and cognitive services to develop a solution that hopefully will actually help our public safety and our officers that are out on the edge provide better services to the citizens.
It's one of the things that makes me proud to work at Microsoft. We invest resources to help customers accelerate progress on their digital transformation journey.
It's a continuous process, right? We just continuously move forward. That's kind of, the way I see digital transformation is more like digital evolution.
Most of us have already experienced it, in the form of personal devices like cellular phones or voice search on our TVs. Even in its infancy, voice technology is changing the way we shop, travel, and the way we work. So what will the future be like? Voice technology empowers users to interact with technology in a way that's natural and no longer OS or hardware dependent. It's uninhibited by what model device or network we may have in our pocket. Voice technology allows us to use technology for more than just a digital assistant, but a digital companion. At OneVi, we are your voice technology solution. By utilizing technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, we will continue in a deep and meaningful way to innovate solutions grounded in integrity. OneVi, we magnify voice for attention and influence.
Because I just want to shift people's thinking just a little bit from fear to hope.
We have to get this space bigger. We have to get more people. And the way you do that is by storytelling, by marketing and messaging.
And I want the world to be a better place. I want the San Francisco Bay Area to be better for my children and their children's children's children who I'll never meet. But I think today I'm affecting their life.